Hey guys, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well. Today we are gonna see an amazing what if story, but before we start, it's just a humble request that if you are new here, please subscribe because it actually motivates me a lot to post more. Also, the stories on my channel are fully written by me, so if you have any suggestions for what if stories, please let me know below the comment section. Now without any further delay, let's start. What if Harry Potter was messenger of death? Boy, the angry shout vibrated through the tiny house as a young male shuddered in fear. He had just arrived home for the first couple weeks of summer holiday when things had seemed a bit off, almost downright scary. A few days earlier his uncle had picked him up outside the King Cross train station, not bothering to wait inside or telling him of the pickup changes. The large man's face had been a deep purple of rage when he had to venture into the station to find his wayward nephew. But it was his eyes, holding a strange satisfying glimmer, rather than the anger, that tore shudders of uneasiness through the boy's frame. Beneath the older male's breath were mutterings, occasionally weird glances to the side as well, that the younger male could not decipher. And for some instinctive reason, the young man really didn't want to find out. Upon his arrival to Privet Drive 4, he had been locked away in the second bedroom, with only his familiar, a snowy white owl named Hedwig. All his school items had been snatched away by his uncle, who then padlocked the school trunk and shoved it beneath the stairs. But he had been able to save a few essentials, hidden by the loose hand-me-down clothing during the lonely wait at the train station, and were now hidden beneath the loose floorboard. Under his sad of an excuse for a bed, sitting upon the tattered blankets and old thin mattress, he began trying to remember a world far different from this one where he truly wished to be. A world where he was known as the boy who lived, or just famous Harry Potter. But now his shattered mind could only flash through his young life, eventually landing on the recent Triwizard Tournament, where he had been the cause of the death of Cedric Diggory and the rebirth of an evil man, who called himself Dark Lord Voldemort. And despite those past remembrances, his Uncle Vernon's screaming voice fully scared him, as well as the shrill tones of Aunt Petunia and piggish laughter of Dudley, all successfully returning him to the harsh reality of his unwanted life with the Dursleys. Since the arrival, the Dursleys had locked and barred him in the small room for almost 2 weeks, no food, water, or breaks. He had been left with thin blankets, a single bare mattress, a small tin bucket, and the clothes on his back. But beneath the floorboard he had shoved some food and water, saved beneath preservation spells cast at school, for him and Hedwig. Boy, the hurrying footsteps echoed as his uncle finally came to a stop in front of his door. Trembling fearfully, 14-year-old Harry Potter glanced out the open but barred window. From her locked cage, Hedwig hooted unhappily in concern for her master. But he could only force himself to stand, waiting for the doom he had known for days that would soon appear, though not why. Several locks on the door began to fall open, allowing the door to fly open in haste. From the open doorway stood a very unhappy yet smug Vernon Dursley. "This is the last time we'll deal with you, freak." Quote, stuttering in a barely audible voice, I don't understand." Harry suddenly felt trapped when his uncle stalked forward. Every step he went back one. Vernon reached out with a large meaty fist, grabbing the vulnerable boy by his throat and dragged him away. "Your little freak of an owl almost ruined an important deal." Poor Petunia almost went into shock when that ruddy blasted creature ruined dinner. "I warned you about this freaky stuff in my house." Emerald green eyes widened in pure fear as his already thin body painfully slammed against the steps. His uncle refused to remove his tight grip. That grip tightened with each pathetic whimper, causing the world to darken within his vision as he struggled to remember that Headmaster Albus Dumbledore had probably sent a letter to explain the recent tragedy he suffered. But even then he could barely make out his own trunk, carelessly tossed aside, as his uncle viciously ripped open the door to his old bedroom, the cupboard under the stairs. Seconds later his sore body flew inside, slamming into the wall and threatening to slip into a world of darkness. Please, let this be it. For 1 second he truly believed he was safe and would only fall back into routine before he started at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. But clouded pain-filled eyes caught his oversized cousin laughing, his Aunt Petunia holding the boy back in a loving but tight grip. while his uncle forced his large frame through the small door. An evil grin crossed the flushed piggish features. Harry could only pray he would survive, unable to defend himself or move, as the door fell shut. The Saviors. Chapter 1. The Saviors. Pained screams filled the air as a young woman shot up in her bed, sweaty and sore. Gasping for fresh air, she struggled and almost losing battle with thick blankets about her bare legs. Stumbling to shaky feet, holding her stomach as muscles screamed in protest, she hastily ran from a lonely dark room. Running down the twisted maze of halls, she screamed in shrill sounds for the one person who could help her, Mentor Isaac. Mentor Isaac, please. Pain, fear, anguish filled those sobs as heavy salty tears flowed freely down the saddened furry face. She paid no attention to the loss of control over her body and mind as she tried in vain to flush out the horrifying vision, childishly believing in nightmares. Within hearing distance, various figures stumbled from doors. Still dressed in nightwear, blurry eyes speared the fetal-positioned girl, whose sobs still call out for her mentor. Said mentor suddenly floated through the marble floor. The middle-aged creature, barely visible within the dark shadows and low lighting, gazed at the teary-eyed child. Child, what has you in such pain? Still sobbing, unable to stop, she relived the horrific dream continuously in her mind's eye. He's in pain. So close to death. All barely catch those last breathed words as Mentor Isaac quickly veered his questions to reveal her dream. What did you see? Red-rimmed eyes glowed with a feral glint, as she looked the ghostly male in a direct gaze. His calm demeanor helped her to grasp the shaky pictures into a whole painting. Shaky, sorrowful, low tones. I see a small boy but older than he looks. He was at first locked in a tiny room. His window barred but left open at all times. A fear so real it could be tasted, felt. A large man comes for him, dragging him by the throat. Almost choking him. He fears him, vulnerable with no help. A voice threatening with rage in tune with his cries of pain. Taken from the room, down the stairs, and pushed into a small cupboard-like closet. Cruel laughter and the man follow the boy inside. In the dark, waves of pain and fear, sounds of breaking and ripping. Even when the screams die it never stops. It never stops. He listened to the description. Her dream sounded too real to be fake. This vision came close to a possible link his council had wished to track. Gather the council. He won't let this go by untracked. His fellow mentors and students hurried away, some to bed and some to do as told. Turning to his young charge, tell me more, if you can. He had to be sure. Her sobbing slowly died away, leaving behind an exhausted visionary. Thin, almost without food for years. So young in looks but old by spirit. Black hair, emerald eyes. A scar on his forehead, a lightning bolt. Marks, pain, and near death with cold. Draped across a large unmoving object. Darkness. Very good. See the elves. Then get some sleep. He watched as the exhausted child slowly made her way to the elves residing in a deeper part of the building. Sighing, he turned away to make his way from the endless mazes of corridors and halls to the largest room residing inside. Against the far wall resided 11 various leaders of creatures. Each ruled over a specified group of non-humans. Now they sat primly behind one large wooden desk-like table, barely looking awake. One presided over the others as spokesperson. Mentor Isaac, we are led to believe you sounded a call for the council at this hour. The ghostly male drifted closer, eyes downcast in reverence. One of my charges, Evia, has had a vision. She at first believed it a dream. A nightmare, but the little details I had received makes me believe we have found the child, the human. The description also leads me to believe the actions have already passed. We are his only chance at possible survival from the pain he has already suffered. Low murmurs erupted from the council. For centuries the realm had learned of a prophecy yet to be fulfilled. A seer had prophesied that their world would collide with a human, not just any human but a wizard. He would suffer at the hands of those he truly wished to trust, his safety torn away. Before the council reigned, their elders had sworn to find and protect this child, as well as train him. Voices were concerned at first. This is no place for a human. They've all but destroyed our kind in their realms. We can't possibly make him one of us. The spokesperson refused to listen, we know all this, but our elders had made this promise. We have sworn to uphold such promise, and we are honor-bound to retrieve him." He continued in earnest, "I believe this young man could prevail under our care." A low voice glided from a lonely cloaked figure, a figure that had yet to speak or acknowledge the other 10 members. The elders had recorded the seer's vision. A human born of will and magic. A child to stand as an equal to an evil born of demons, only to fall to death. A wizard of pure and want, abandoned during times of need, will stand at her side. Silence reigned the room as the words flowed like honey. "I know this human. Our Lady has asked for him, she knows. He is the one demon, she once revered, has turned against her, she wants his head. He has duped her long enough with lies and deceit, which are now null and void. With all our help the boy can stand strong and powerful." Again low murmurs echoed as all fell to agreement. "Send us the twins. They should be able to find him. If the vision is true, alert the elves for a late visitor. Tell them to be ready for more healers if needed." Mentor Isaac nodded with respect. "I shall tell the elves myself." As he began to shimmer, a bell-like sound echoed with a sorrowful song. 2 identical robed and hooded figures appear, heads bowed. A soft feminine tone echoed as both talk as one, "We have been summoned." The only other robed covered figure piped up, "We, the council, have received a latent vision that the prophecy has been fulfilled. You are on retrieval. You will find and bring the boy to us, as well as anything belonging to him." 2 nods were timed as one motion. Glowing emerald eyes peered at He council as a connection delved into their minds for all details of the child. Together they reached out to the world around them in hopes of finding him. A thin but strong tug yanked the 2 women from their world, causing them to shimmer into nothing, and reappeared on a street called Privet Drive. In one house a lone owl stood in sleepy concern. Hedwig refused to allow the darkness to overcome her until her master returned. Then in her mind she felt a gentle prodding. Someone was searching for her master to help. In excitement and hope she reached out for them, dragging the connection closer. The twins looked about as the tugging became harder and hopeful. Minds melding together they allowed the connection to drag them close. Shimmering smoke drifted through the open but barred window. Warm concerned eyes watched as the twins turned whole. One turned to her sister, a husky lilt to her voice, "Is this the place?" Her twin had a childlike sweetness dripping from her tone, the only way to tell them apart. "We saw the details." She, gloved hands pointed to the snowy owl, "Led us here." Looking about the tiny bare room, both wondered where the boy was. "Ask her where he is." The husky lilt caused the owl to shiver as the other twin faced her. Another gentle prod in her mind caused Hedwig to softly hoot. A smile could be heard in the woman's voice. She last saw him being dragged out. "You search here for anything as his. She will identify it as his by the soft hooting. I'll search elsewhere." "No, my sister. You understand her. I will search." The nod allowed the husky lilting twin to sweep out the door. In concentration the lone twin stretches her inherent gift of living spirit magic to find a barely live thread. She followed that sensation down the stairs to a small cupboard beneath said stairs. A sweep of her gloved hand had yanked the door open silently. She almost retched at the smell of strong tangy blood. Forcing past the strong smell, emerald glowing eyes allowed her to see a half-naked, brutally beaten, and bloody body of a young male. He lay perfectly still, almost dead except for the painful short gasps, draped across a bloody trunk. Her twin arrived with a shimmering announcement. In one hand she held the owl's cage. "Oh no, poor child, help me." Together the twins carefully dragged the boy from his prison. Outside the tiny room they could see a painfully thinned boy with limp clumps of black hair. On his forehead laid the lightning bolt-shaped scar. One twin pried open a single eye to reveal clouded emerald. "It's him." A soft hoot alert ed the other twin to see a snowy wing point inside. "I've got the trunk." The said trunk floated with grace and silence to their side. Uncaring of the dried blood, still wet in some spots, they arranged themselves in sitting positions. "Hold on to him tightly. I will invoke the magic from these lines about us." Both women just barely made out the faint magical auras as the twin drew in the magic. Using the boost, they connect minds to disappear with an abrupt pop. Unknowingly, they had allowed the magic to fail in its protection. This failing caused the wards about the tiny home to shatter and alarms to ring. The Disappearance. Chapter 2. The Disappearance. At first glance the night seemed peaceful, almost worthy of needed sleep. But upon a lone stretch of land, soft noises could be heard. From the large wooden area covered in shadows. About a foot from that forest laid a small cottage, where gray smoke lazily danced. Further from the forest laid a magnificent castle, gloomy with the night. Inside, soft breezes of the many residing ghosts tumbled about with an eternity of insomnia. The alive occupants laid in slumber when a shrill screaming blared throughout the silence. In one office, a bearded wizard stumbled from his bed. Hastily throwing on the nearest robes, he hurried from the bed to his desk. A beautiful golden phoenix sorrowfully cried as tired blue eyes peered into a carefully hidden mirror. Inside the mirror he watched as colorful wards collapse about a small house. He recognized the signs of someone forcibly disappearing through the wards with something precious. While he watched the mirror, several occupants swiftly flew down the corridors of the great castle towards the gargoyle. Knowing their urgency to enter, the gargoyle guardian to the office simply moved, allowing the spiral staircase to swiftly rise. The occupants raced up them and through the wooden door. Albus, tired blue eyes peered over metal rims of gently placed glasses at the sight of 4 disheveled professors flying inside. Wands ready, Albus Dumbledore had been resting his body behind the only desk in sight, thinking when they arrived. One pale gnarly hand traced patterns in the floor-length white beard as a grim smile greeted them. The alarm sounded from one of our students' house. The wards we had placed have fallen. Gasps fell freely as he stood quietly. Come, we must hurry. I'm sure the Aurors have already appeared. With one hand Albus swished his wand, transfiguring the figures of Professor Snape, Sprout, McGonagall, and Madame Pomfrey into decent robes. They followed the headmaster from his office to the outside as Pomfrey hurried to her hospital wing. Waiting at the cottage stood a large man, one huge hand holding a lantern. Professors. Albus was quick to pacify the man. It's all right, Hagrid. The other man merely nodded as he watched the 4 figures vanish in the dark. Albus, where are we going? Which student? The older wizard had wished his fellow professors wouldn't have asked. With sorrow in his voice, it's Harry Potter. Then before anyone could say a word, he vanished with a pop. The others followed quickly. Within moments the 4 professors from Hogwarts found themselves on Privet Drive. They could see the robed figures of the ministry surrounding the small house belonging to Harry Potter. Minerva McGonagall was the first to speak. Oh no. Harry. Albus turned to her. Yes, the wards had fallen sometime tonight. He then led his small group to the scourging Aurors. Moody. Alistair. Mad Eye. Moody turned at the sound of his name. Albus. What happened? The alarms went off when the wards fell. We hurried here just after the first sounding. Upon our arrival we found the Dursleys still asleep in their beds. One of our own, Tonks, slipped on something in the front hall. When we had lights we found a small bloody trail coming from a cupboard beneath the stairs to the hall. The door was still open. We found bigger blood spills inside the cupboard, but Harry Potter is missing, as well as his things. All the professors paled at the description. Even Severus Snape could not find a single sarcastic remark at that moment for his most hated student. But Albus Dumbledore had to know more. Who took him? Before the Auror could speak, another male appeared, Cornelius Fudge, Minister of Magic. Ask your so-called spy. He's the one holding out on us. Onyx's eyes flared in pure fury as the dark-haired male tensed at the accusing remark. But as always the headmaster came to his defense. Severus has done nothing. He would have said something to us regarding young Harry. A strange female suddenly popped up, her hair disarrayed in spikes of bright purple. We questioned his relatives but they haven't said anything useful. Actually they won't speak at all. Quote, a pale hand swiftly held out a small vial, all eyes widen. Severus Snape, potions master at Hogwarts, smirked at their actions. He always charmed his clothing. To be able to hold various vials of potions, despite wearing a transfigured robe. The robes were always carrying useful items and cushioned to not break. Veritaserum. My personal stock. 3 drops should do. Excited, Tonks hurried away. Stumbling actually. In moments she appeared with several oars dragging a large man, though Severus believed the man to be a whale at first. This is his uncle, Vernon Dursley. With apparent glee, Severus forced the whale-like man to swallow 3 drops of the truth serum. Then he allowed the Aurors to question the man. "What happened here tonight?" Vernon dully answered. "We dealt with the freak as usual, locked it away, while simply going to dinner and bed." "Where's Harry Potter?" "I don't know and don't care." "Good riddance to it." Stunned, the group could only stare before Albus asked the one question all didn't really want to know the answer. Where did the blood come from? Despite his being forced to answer, Vernon didn't really want to explain, and his struggle only made the dark-haired potion master to smirk wider. The boy needed a lesson in disobeying the rules. I had to beat it into him. We left him locked away in the cupboard. Allowing Severus to grudgingly administer the antidote, Albus turned to the others. "We need to find Harry." Fudge refused to allow the search to continue tonight or tax his ministry for one child. Even if the wizarding world demanded it. But he could at least give some satisfaction as he discreetly motioned his Aurors to drag the protesting uncle away. To his reasoning, should anyone ask, it wasn't right to let such atrocities go unpunished, but privately he believed that he could gain more brownie points if he imprisoned the brutal muggle in the deepest recess of Azkaban, a spot where the mentors were free to feed upon the most evil of beings, even giving the kiss should they wish without repercussions of the ministry. Yes, that should do splendidly, even if that brat can't be found anytime soon. The child probably walked off. He'll show up. Minerva refused to let this man tell her about her student. With what we were just told, I doubt Mr. Potter walked off. Tonks agreed. The amount of blood in the cupboard and hall, I'd say Harry was taken by someone. There's no way he could walk away, not with that amount. It could be safe to say that whoever has him will either heal him since he could be close to death or allow him to die slowly from blood loss. Albus nodded his own agreement. We'll continue searching for him. We can only hope he's safe. Severus. The dark professor simply nodded, knowing the risk he would be taking once again for the foolish child. Glowering in anger, he stormed away, followed closely by the others, leaving behind the ministry to spare Telly cleaning up and an outraged minister. The Help. Chapter 3a. The Help. Soft lighting cascaded in harmony as 2 twin-robed figures popped into view. One held a limp, cold young male, the other a trunk and caged owl. The council members stared in pity and sorrow at the state of the young man. "Is he?" A husky tone answered in haste. "Not yet. He can barely breathe." 3 lithe-figured elves swiftly shoved aside the comfortable sterile blankets of one hospital bed. "Put him here." The 3 golden-eyed elves approached the frail child, whose breathing labored even more. One gently placed his hand upon the cold forehead and immediately jumped back. Eyes wide in pure fear, he turned to the occupants. There's something inside him, encouraging his death. His will to live weakens with each tug from this being. The other elves moved away. We cannot help him with this being in possession. The connection must be broken. The twins quickly moved away. We know someone who can help. In a lone corner they resided, silently calling out to their old mentor. A bright flash announced the arrival of a new occupant. A small woman tumbled from the flash. She smiled sheepishly at her unbalanced arrival. "Sorry about that. Never had the balance and grace of my mother's side." They could see the pointed ears detailing elfish heritage, but her height requested that she was of dwarf heritage as well. Bright blue eyes smile up at the taller elves. "Hello there. I'm Lyra, mentors of the spiritual ones. The twins say that you need a connection broken." The elves are shocked to see one of their own relating to spirits. As well as the leader of the dwarves, it has been known that no elf or dwarf commune with the nature of spirits the twins are. A warm smile graced them, enhancing the elfish beauty. Slipping around the taller figures, Lyra quickly clambered onto the sterile bed. Mother was of elfish heritage while father had a connection to the spirit world and dwarves in his family. I inherited that connection. Elves and dwarves commune with nature in many ways, but the spiritual side of my family have been known to speak with or for all those who cannot. My latent ability is the power to break that connection at will. One elf stood by her side. He is possessed by something encouraging his death. He cannot be healed by us with this being. She nodded, placing delicate tiny hands onto the cold forehead. Eyes closed, Lyra concentrated her latent ability to connect with the boy. Her mind's eye could see the cloudy connection. Upon closer inspection she saw the scaly covering. Just beneath laid a dull emerald. Gently tugging, she felt a backlash of pure hatred and anger. Shock almost caused her to let go and flee, but stubbornness and faith allowed her to continue. Then a warmth stretched out, tentatively, towards her. She felt the fear, the hope, and the youth within this warmth. Instinct told her this was the child. Keeping a tight grip on this connection, she fed him energy and strength. The dull emerald glowed brighter as the scales slowly began to erode. A scream of rage frightened her as a darkness reached out to swallow her being. But then a small child appeared, glowing with a golden color of pure love. Tiny arms wrapped about her, keeping the connection tighter. A red flare brightened around the thread she meant to break. Then nothing. She could only feel one being. The warmth of a hopeful child. Weak with exhaustion, Lyra fell back into the waiting arms of the nearest elf. His fellow healers swiftly hurried to the boy's side as the tiny woman was forced into a separate bed. He's strong. The warmth of him can grow in power with our help. As the council watched, the elves pulled a gray curtain about the bed. The waiting had now begun. Lyra allowed sleep to overcome her, knowing the boy was in good hands. During the long wait, one elf came forward. The injuries are long. With a concerned group, Listeninghe began to list the injuries: 3 broken ribs, 2 of which punctured the left lung. Both lungs were filling with blood. 2 other ribs are cracked. A ruptured kidney and spleen. Significant blood loss. Over 70 of his body is covered in bruises and cuts. His throat was almost crushed, the larynx almost ruined. He won't be able to talk without a rasp for a few days, but his voice will be fine. A shattered wrist, fractured ankle, dislocated shoulder, and swollen jaw. It'll be a few weeks before he can even heal completely, possibly months. Thankfully, we are able to save his eyes. Eyes, yes. There was a cloudy look to them. He would have been blind with no way to help, but we are able to heal them. We did find shards of glass about the eyes. His body malnourished but strong. It seems he has been able to survive on little food. He'll be fine then. He'll have to sleep off the potions and spells for the first couple days. Then little physical movement and plenty of rest for the first couple weeks. Afterwards the training required can be added. Once we heal the major injuries and set the ruined bones, we've decided to give him a boost of vampire then elfish blood to help with the healing even more, speeding up the healing process. When he wakes, he'll be a little dizzy and possibly sick. Otherwise he'll survive. Have Lexi come to his side in a few days. She'll be his mentor during his stay. Stay. Won't he remain? The council members shook their heads at the elf. The spokesperson explained, he's human. We have no reason to keep him here. But beneath our care he will be trained. Then when we feel he is ready, he may leave to help his world. The Lies. Chapter 3b, The Lies. Headmaster Albus Dumbledore waited for any news from the past couple days. Everyone possible had been out trying to search for Harry Potter. The day after the disappearance, Albus had written his 2 best friends and godfather that he had Harry taken from his relatives to an unploatable safe house. He had lied to the 3 most important people in the young man's life. But he couldn't allow them to know that Harry had been taken from his home, injured. But he did allow them foolish hope that young Harry would arrive at Platform 9. 3/4 for the new school year. A prim knock interrupted his thinking. Come in. Professor Minerva McGonagall swept inside. Any word, Albus? The old wizard bowed his head. Tears pricked at her eyelids as she collapsed into a chair before the large desk. Where can he be, Albus? Who could have taken him? Albus could offer no comfort to the grieving professor. He knew the head of the Gryffindor house wanted to know that one of her students was safe. We don't know. The Aurors did find a strong residual of a magical aura, but nothing can trace it back to the source. Severus was already here, as far as he knew. Voldemort does not have Harry, but he can't be sure just yet. What can we do now? Sighing in heavy tones, he began to look his age. We can only hope Harry is safe and will return soon. We will do anything to keep the truth from coming out. Alistair and Tonks have already begun the process of changing memories. They will be our only contact in the ministry. We will maintain the lie that Harry is safe and hidden at the moment in fear that Voldemort is after him. Minerva stood carefully, desperately holding the sobs inside. You do realize that Ms. Granger may realize something's wrong. She won't stop until the truth is revealed. Both her and Mr. Weasley will try to weasel out the truth. We will not tell them anything. They cannot know despite their friendship with young Harry. I hope so, Albus. We really need Mr. Potter here. He has no one to help him except those of us here at Hogwarts and Sirius Black. Without another word, the Transfiguration professor and head of house swept out the office to be alone. Blue Eyes tiredly watched the witch flee. With the absence of the boy's owl and items, they couldn't search for his magical signature. They only hoped his use of magic could help since the other signature in his home led to nowhere. Please, come home, Harry. We need you here. A golden phoenix sang a sorrowful song as he watched H's owner silently grieve over the loss of the savior, Harry Potter. Mentor Lexi. Chapter 4. Mentor Lexi. Almost a week had passed before the young human woke from his induced sleep. Bleary emerald, green eyes fluttered open to see a calm gaze of hazel. Blinking furiously, Harry forced his vision to focus, barely noting that he was not wearing his glasses. Dull pain echoed through his entire being. Gee, as a small groan floated from parched lips. Hold on there, child. Gentle hands carefully held a cool glass of cold water to his lips. Greedily, he drank half the glass. Be careful now, you'll be dizzy from the healing. Raspy, his voice scratched his throat in throbbing paths. What happened? The low voice gently spoke. You are in the healer's ward. You have been here for almost 2 weeks trying to heal your injuries. The bright green gaze cleared quickly. Eyes widen at the sight of a female centaur. Unlike the darker centaurs in the Forbidden Forest, she was a light gold with a darker chestnut color for hair and tail. She chuckled at his delight at something familiar. Who are you? Carefully arranging her lower body, she laid down on the ground while her upper body bowed lightly. I am Lexi, but to you I will be called Mentor Lexi. Mentor. Hazel eyes gleamed in enjoyment. Of course, during you stay here, you will be trained beneath our laws. A mentor is someone who will help you. Someone who you will learn from, trust, and depend on. As your mentor I am responsible for your training and housing. I would give you clothing, food, and rules. I will also talk with other mentors to help me strengthen your weaknesses or strengths. As a student you are responsible for practice and constant training. Harry was confused by her words, training. But I can't stay here. Mentor Lexi smiled. Calm down, child. Arms crossed, a pouting face. My name's Harry Potter. All right then, Harry. Our training program includes mages, guides, council members, mentors, and guards. Our realm has non-humans. You are the first human to enter our world to be trained. Each program depends on the strength and will of the person. In this training you will learn various magic other than your wizardry. Languages such as Elfish, weaponry, hand-to-hand combat, shielding, body shifting, and mind-to-mind connection to future teammates. Languages. I can't possibly do that. Laughing, Mentor Lexi couldn't help but love the naive boy. It's quite easy. You will learn. You will have others who can help teach you inside and outside class. Oh, when can I leave? The council has already decided that after your training you may return. Until then we would like you to stay. We believe it's your only hope to stand up to your enemy. Black hair fell in his face as he tried to maneuver his position to a more comfortable one. Mentor Lexi quickly helped. This council, who are they? The council rules various realms but one. The demonic world already has a ruler. She is someone to fear and respect. Only those of demon blood and with her permission are allowed to call her by name. The rest of us simply call her by the name of Queen. Until you leave us the council will require your obedience. We will still require your trust should you decide to not follow our rules in your world. I can do that. What about everyone here? In this realm, as you know, there are no true humans. Everyone has non-human blood in them or are ghosts, spirits. We are creatures feared or distrusted. We are creatures of vampires, demons, ghosts, velas, centaurs, werewolves, and more. We all live together and train together. It is rare for our people to integrate themselves into the Muggle or wizard world. We try to discourage it because of the prejudice from others. One thing we do know is that our time is faster. Faster, yes. The council had spent the weeks deciding how fast our time could be according to yours. This way you would have a better idea when you leave us. For one, why? Here in the Muggle and wizardry world we pass 5 years. Sleepy emerald eyes looked back as one hand brushed over his forehead. Then the sleep quickly vanished as both hands rubbed at the one spot on his head. My scar. The healers had someone enter your mind and break the connection to that scar. You were dying and the being inside you. Voldemort. She raised a brow at the name but continued, this being, Voldemort, tried to encourage your death through this connection. One of our mentors, with your help, broke that connection. You had become lucid about a day after that, complaining of the loss before falling back into a deep healing sleep. Your explanation said that you needed that contact for the visions that could save your world. Lyra, the mentor that helped you, went to one of our seers and gave them the connection. All the visions or dreams will be seen by the seer and recorded for you. Thank you. Harry took this time to explain his part. Voldemort is my enemy. He LLED my parents when I was little and has been after me since. In my mind I can see what he does and says. He promises his followers that I would never be able to destroy him, no one would. He's after those who cannot defend themselves as well as other wizards. I must go back as soon as possible or my world will crumble to his control. Don't worry, we'll find a way to help you. Until then, get some rest. You'll need it for your training will start next week. Hazel eyes watched with maternal interest as the young male lay back, instantly falling asleep. Suspicions begin. Chapter 5. Suspicions begin. A new year for school had begun. September 1st found Hermione Granger, a 15-year-old Muggle-born witch, impatiently waiting on platform 9 3/4 for her friends. Bright worried eyes watched the bustling new first years mingle with the older students. She, herself, was a 5th year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Hermione. A lilting voice called out her name, whirling she tried to search. Suddenly a red-haired missile collided with her body. Crying out in shock, Hermione could only struggle to keep her balance. Ginny Weasley. Release her at once, young lady. Flushing bright red, Ginny did as told. Yes, Mum. Her friend and fellow housemate chuckled. Hello, Ginny, Mrs. Weasley. Mrs. Weasley tightly hugged the young brunette. Hello, Hermione. How was your summer? Okay, but have you heard anything about Harry? All I got a letter saying he was safe but nothing else. I'm worried. Hermione had known the minute she read her letter that something was truly off about Harry in hiding. And she hoped to get the answers. I'm sure he's fine. Albus won't let anything happen to that poor boy. Let's get you two on board. We're running late. Juggling her trunk to the large scarlet train, she and Ginny quickly hurry aboard, waving goodbye to the elder Weasleys. Ginny quickly dragged her friend past various compartments, looking for her brothers. Hermione. Said female was suddenly trapped in a 3-way bear hug from 3 redheads. How are you? Hello, Fred, George, Ron. I'm good, thanks. How was your summer? Echoing okays caused the young witch to volley out more questions. Have any of you heard anything else about Harry? Besides him being safe and hidden. The Weasley twins shared a knowing look, which their bookworm friend pounced on. You know. We overheard our parents earlier this summer. They said Harry isn't hidden but missing. The occupants blinked in surprise as Ron cried out, What do you mean missing? We don't know, Ron. Mum and Dad don't either. Dumbledore is covering it up with hopes Harry will show up. Ron snorted, Bet it was you-know-who. Hermione, ever the smart and collected one, quickly piped up, I am sure Professor Dumbledore will tell us. We'll ask him later. Just as she finished her words, the compartment door opened. A pale young man glided in with an air of arrogance. He was followed by 2 burly boys. A smirk graced the fair aristocratic features. Well, look what we have here. A room full of weasels and a mudblood. Ron shot to his feet in anger, face bright red and wand held out. Get out, Malfoy. Draco Malfoy snorted in amusement at his fellow 5th-year classmate, gray eyes peering about. I see Potty couldn't dare show his face. Leave it to him to chicken out. His bodyguard snickered at the comment. Take that back. Harry would never chicken out. The blonde Malfoy snickered at the younger Weasley's passionate defense. Potty's girlfriend take offense now. That's all right. This year is about to be the best ever. Hermione quickly intervened. Leave, Malfoy. We have no qualms in fighting back. Sneering at her. Like I said, this year is going to be the best. His snic. Caring laughter haunted the small group of Gryffindors, even as they settled down at their table in the Great Hall. They did not notice the concerned looks from some of the professors and the headmaster. Albus watched the streams of children entering the Great Hall, all waiting for a new batch of children to be sorted. Twinkling eyes roamed over the 4 houses only to land on 5 young Gryffindors. Their saddened faces tugged at his heart, but he had to stay strong. Minerva leaned close, whispering quickly, "Albus, they have to know the truth. They will find out. I'm sure some of the Death Eat. Ours children know at least some of the truth by now." The old wizard shook his head. "I cannot, Minerva. We can only continue as I said and hope young Harry will return to us." Minerva could only sigh, in frustration as she hurried away from the head table to greet the new first years. She caught the tail end of her Gryffindor's conversation. "Hermione, where could he be?" "I don't know, Ron. We'll ask the headmaster later." Tearful, the Transfiguration professor hurried to compose herself. Within moments she was able to lead the new students inside. There she allowed the sorting hat to sing its song and sort the children to their new houses. Surprisingly, the 4 houses received an equal amount of new housemates. Taking her seat, Minerva watched as the headmaster began his yearly speech. "Students, new and old. Welcome to a new year at Hogwarts. Before we feast, a few rules. First," here his twinkling gaze landed on the twin redheads, "the Forbidden Forest is strictly off limits to all students. Punishment this year will be settled by myself, and most probably not enjoyable. Our caretaker, Mr. Filch," pointing to a glowering male holding an equaling glowering cat, "has a list of things that are not allowed within school grounds, or to be made on school grounds. Please, feel free to check. No magic between classes in the corridors, please. Tomorrow, you will meet your new DEFA NSE against the Dark Arts professor since they could not make it tonight." Severus glared darkly at the empty seat beside him. "Now for all that you've been waiting for, ABBRA cadabra." Everyone could only shake their heads at the weird words, while the Muggle-borns could only snicker. Later, just after dinner was over, Hermione dragged Ron to the headmaster's office. Neither knew the password but remembered that he always used candy. Swiftly, Hermione yanked out a sheet of paper with all types of words written down. Hermione. It's a list of candy he already used as well as others he has yet to use, even Muggle candy." Ron nodded as they both recited the long list. Unknown to the 2 reciting students, Albus silently snuck up from behind. His manipulative mind began to remember the long list for future passwords. Blue eyes twinkle in amusement as one word snagged his attention: blow pop. Both students jumped in surprise. Hermione quickly recovered to explain: Muggle candy. It's a piece of flavored candy wrapped about bubblegum. "Ah, I see." Turning to the gargoyle, the headmaster quickly spouted the password: grape flavor. He led the 2 up the spiral stairs and into his office. "How can I help you 2 tonight?" The twins, Fred and George, said that their parents said that Harry was missing, not in hiding. "We wanted to know where Harry really is and why we haven't heard anything." Albus hated the idea of having to lie to the 2 young eager students about their best friend, but it had to be done. That would be because only I, and young Harry's secret keeper, knows where he truly is. We had believed Harry was in danger over the summer and immediately moved him to a safe house. I cannot allow any letters to reach him. They can be traced or interrupted during the process. Now I believe it is curfew and you 2 need to be back in your dorms. I believe the password for Gryffindor is 3W. Ron's mouth dropped at the wink the headmaster gave. He knew the significance of that word. His brothers were thinking of starting a joke shop with that same symbol. But Hermione didn't care as she swept away with her trailing friend. She knew but had no proof that the headmaster was lying about Harry's location. She refused to give up knowing where he was. New friends. Chapter 6. New friends. Several years have already gone by since Harry had arrived in a new world. He missed his friends and godfather, but he knew he had to stay. The training, so far, had become very intriguing. His mentor had pushed him hard within the first couple weeks when he left the healers. Until his strength had built up, mentor Lexi had refused to Allow him any teammates. But she had never failed to add on to the running and physical exercises. Nor did she falter on the constant surprise attacks, in which she always enlisted other mentors, whom he believed took the same sadistic pleasure in pushing his limits during training. But he had refused to complain or change anything for a minute. And now, after all that, he's stuck with 4 new friends, who had become his teammates, of which 3 were currently driving him up the wall with their argument. I'm telling you now, stop it. Stop what, Lucas? Harry snickered as he heard 2 voices speak as one, but refused to make eye contact with anyone or else he would lose his control. But he had to admit the twins that D saved his life were quite entertaining when they weren't being vindictive. Will you 2 just pick a separate personality? Or at least speak as 2 people? The one called Lucas looked to his struggling not to laugh friend for help, who simply looked away. Harry really wasn't ready to enter this argument to save his friend. He knew how vindictive the twins could be when their fun was interrupted. Especially since he knew exactly what the twins controlled and were capable of. But it seemed his fellow friend, Lucas, didn't really care as he continuously argued back. We are 2 people. We do have separate personalities. Harry then had no choice but to choke on his laughter when he realized the 2 women sounded as sarcastic as his old potions master. But he had to stop them from arguing, if it prevent his further choking on the laughter. Will you 3 stop, please? 3 figures turned to him, in which he turned on the puppy eyes. Sighing, his friends gave in. You win. The 4th, who had simply enjoyed this show in all its glory and was the one to have given the 2 twins the idea to annoy their other friend, fell in fits of uncontrollable laughter at the properly chastised faces. Hey, little one. Harry slightly cringed at the remark. Since his healing he had gained an appetite but not that much height, yet. He was after all only just hitting 20 and everyone believed he wasn't done growing for a human. His mentor had then taken to calling him, little one, every day, causing him to be tempted to play her as a target with the various hidden daggers on his being. Instead he sighed as he turned to face his mentor, knowing if he acted upon his desire he would become the target. Mentor Lexi galloped in strides to her student's side. Upon stopping she smiled. It's been over 6 years, Harry. You have passed in almost all areas of training in your path as a war mage. He flushed at the compliment, but the council believes that you could use a training in higher magic. Since it also seems you are accelerating in your original training, we've also planned on pushing your performance even harder. You'll be taught in almost all areas of the other training programs as well. Higher. Green eyes glanced at his friends, who looked more confused than he, though suspicion made him believe that they were faking it since Lucas looked like he was barely containing the excitement. At the same time Harry was jumping for joy inwardly at the thought of learning even more paths of training. Yes, Goblin, Elven, and Demonic. These are the highest levels of magic in our world. Especially Demonic. Lucas will be helping you in the Elven magic, which I believe he has already began, although it is illegal to be taught by a student and will continue with the proper trainer helping. Hazel eyes gleamed at the guilty faces. But Goblin and Demonic magic are closely related in sense. I'm going to learn Demonic. Of course. The council has been contacted by A.M. Essinger from Queen to teach you Demonic magic. She will send you a teacher, who will also be another teammate to you 5 and hopefully keep 3 of you in check. Here Mentor Lexi smirked at the sight of 3 flushing faces. They shall be arriving tomorrow at breakfast. I believe Queen's exact words were, Demonic magic has been granted to the human child as a gift from me. Harry was shocked at the words. Queen said that. He may have been new in this world for 6 years and still learning, but the first thing he was forced to remember was that no one said Queen's real name. Her name W. As shied from just like wizards feared to say Voldemort, although he was sure there was a very good reason and he just got that reason. Remember, little one, Queen has a real name, which I have been given permission to tell you more of. Her real name is She-Demon. She is the absolute ruler of the demonic world. All demons of her bloodline must obey her will despite where they live, or the consequences can be quite deadly if not painful. She's the only one who would decide their life or death. She's a very, very powerful creature, but she can also be a very, very vicious enemy. From stories told, she loves tormenting her enemies in that hellish realm. But should you ever gain her alliance and respect, we have learned that she would practically allow you to get away with almost anything in her name as long as it exempts demon killing without her permission. She is also the only one to grant or flourish demonic gifts in those of half-demons, or in your case, humans. Thank you, Harry. Almost stuttered as his friend suddenly became severely pale, trembling. Despite this sudden fear, Harry had to ask, Mentor Lexi. What's happening to my friends? The council had agreed as one to answer any of his questions concerning his world, truthfully and promptly. They knew of humans' curiosity, how it would lead them astray and into dangerous areas if not appeased once questioned. The attacks are now growing in slightly bigger numbers. Your enemy has believed you are truly missing despite the rumors that you are hiding, but won't pull any huge attacks just yet. The seer believes this. Voldemort person believes you are gone but also believes you just might reappear anytime. Seems he is quite cautious. Otherwise, with a little pushing we have seen that your friends have fallen in sorrow. Though some refused to be pushed around. My connection. Relieved, as well as inwardly snickering at the thought of his friends hounding the professors of his whereabouts, which he knew would happen if Hermione had her way. He was truly grateful he would never suffer another vision, but the Gryffindor side of him had to ask about the seer's sake. The visions only relate the various attacks he will plan to or have already execute. Our seers and guides are quite well, they share the grounding of the visions to easily control it. She then began to walk away, calling over her shoulder, do not forget about tomorrow. Demonic magic will be very tiring since it's the most powerful. Harry desperately couldn't wait until the next day to begin learning. But by the end of the next week he will start to wonder why he was exciting about learning more. Even his new friend and teacher refused to take pity on him during lessons. But she was slowly becoming the greatest friend he could have, especially Ali when he had asked for a very large favor granted by She-Demon. A favor for her to always watch out for a certain professor, until he returned home. During his nights, Harry would lay awake for several hours, trying to fight off the bad feeling that something was going to go wrong, and it would include his potion master. After all, he had learned through the seers that this professor was king, a very thin line of life and death in hopes of protecting the world from ultimate darkness. Visions and Leaving. Chapter 7. Visions and Leaving. Council. You summoned me. 25-year-old Harry Potter had hurried from his hopeful nap after a week of graduation rites to finish becoming a war mage, in which he had also been recruited by She-Demon to become one of her future messengers. She had also granted him a new name. Osiris, Death's Messenger. She would use him and one other to be her hellish messengers of death to her enemies and traitors. He had accepted the name and future path. But now when he really wanted to sleep, the council had demanded a hasty meeting. We had received a vision of a Severus Snape from a few months ago when you were entertained by Queen. We knew you have had a friend, War Mage Isis, to become his guardian in his times of need. Despite the lateness of the vision, we thought you would like to know what had happened. Show me, but please keep it short. I'll find from her what he went through completely, should I decide to know the full extent of his injuries. We will show you at the ending then. We will try to keep this pain short. The members of the council pitied the man before him. They had known of the fierce protectiveness their human war mage had for this man he called Severus. They hated to show him the severe trials the older and had been forced to bear, but felt it was the mage's right to know everything of his world. Harry simply stood completely still as a soft white light glimmered before him, almost as if he had been pulled into a dream. Swallowing hard, he forced himself to watch. Heavy breathing turned quite painful surrounded a lone fleeing figure. Broken and bloody, he could barely stand without wanting to collapse, but pushed his vastly waning limits for hopeful safety. A few more feet and he was sure he could be able to disappear from the hell he had suffered for a safer heaven. Behind him he could hear the hateful shrill cries. Traitor! Find him! Kill him! Flashes of hexes and curses flew around as he tried to dodge most of them, his body jarring with the few that did hit, but still kept running with a death grip on his wand. His only hope was that someone would be waiting for him on the other side. Relief passed over him as he felt himself suddenly exit the heavy wards surrounding the recent Death Eater's safe house. Swiftly, he conjured what little reserves he had to wave his wand. With a loud pop he disappeared, hoping he would arrive in one piece as he suddenly reappeared in a shadowy forest. Taking 2 steps, he fell into the darkness threatening him. His sudden appearance startled 2 waiting and worried figures. "Professor, is it him?" "Yes, Hagrid, it's Severus. I'll bring him along, you alert Poppy." Albus Dumbledore watched as the half-giant fled while casting spells to ensure the man's lonely appearance was indeed lonely. Leaning down to weak unconscious Professor, he quietly whispered, "You're safe, Severus. You'll never have to go back again. But I am sorry for this time." Madame Pomfrey rushed about a lone private room, readying herself for anything when Hagrid had rushed in with news that Severus Snape had arrived. She looked up at the sound of the hospital wing's doors opening, hurrying from the room to check. "Albus," he pointed behind him to the floating body. "Lay him here." Once the younger professor was in place, she swiftly cleared out the few stragglers wanting to see their colleague. But she had known that Severus would never want anyone to know any of his injuries, no matter how severe. For now she quickly contented herself in her knowledge of healing, pulling every resource to save the man before her. Hours later, a very tired Medi-Witch dragged herself from the private room to face a large concerned group. Tiredly she smiled. "He'll live. I've given him a potion to induce a healing coma to allow him rest too. Heal faster. He'll be sore foe. A few days when he wakes, but he'll live." The vision swiftly cleared away, leaving a shaken and tearful young man. "Thank you." His words barely passed his lips as he fought to control his hot tears that threatened to fall. "We had made a promise to you about informing you of your world, no matter how little the information. And during the last 10 years you, Harry Potter, have grown from a small, abused 14-year-old boy to a very powerful 25-year-old war mage, Osiris, Death's messenger. You have succeeded where we had always believed you would, though you surprised us in the acceptance to Queen's Alliance. We are sure your friends and family will be very proud of you." Forcing his joyful emotions of seeing those of his past aside, even if they couldn't know him before Voldemort's downfall, Harry stepped forward to receive the last of his rites. He could see the decision in every council member's eyes. This would allow him to go home early. One of the council members, covered head to toe in robes, stood to face him. "Because we know you would decide to leave early for your world, we have decided to finish your last graduation rites, enforcing your role and path. For She-Demon's rights, you will be expected to be her right hand at any time. You will always be at her call when summoned. You will always become her Death's messenger with her left-hand follower for every traitor to her blood and mission. Do you truly accept, Osiris, Death's messenger, right hand to She-Demon?" Falling to one knee, Harry resigned himself to answer to the new name. Head bowed in respect, he spoke his acceptance of his path and newly inducted name. "I, War Mage Osiris, Death's messenger, right hand to She-Demon, truly accepts this path of my life. I will always be at her call. I will always be her right-hand follower until my death by her hand. I will always be one of the Death's messenger to her traitors and missions. You may rise. You have been named and accepted. You are now Osiris, Death's messenger and right hand to Our Lady Queen, She-Demon." Renamed as a new being from Harry Potter, Osiris respectively stood before the council. "And I will be using Osiris quite often in place of Harry." His old mentor, Lexi, stepped forward. "As his mentor for over 10 years, I am proud to announce my graduating student to the council, War Mage Osiris." The council turned to their spokesperson, War Mage Osiris. "Welcome to the path of a War Mage. We, the council, are confident you shall always make us proud in your abilities, wherever you may go. We, the council, have also granted your leave from our world to yours. We, the council, have also provided you an excellent team to aid your future paths." 5 hooded figures stepped forward to be recognized by the council. Eads bowed and hands clasped behind their backs, awaiting their orders and rights. Osiris immediately recognized them but said nothing. He merely bowed deeply in respect and acceptance before taking one step back for his team to be seen. Spirit Mages Raja and Maya, Elemental Mage Thor, Silver Mage Lucas, and War Mage Isis, Death's messenger, left hand to Queen. Do you truly accept War Mage Osiris, Death's messenger and right hand to Queen, as your true leader? Do you truly accept his missions as your own? With each name called, 5 heads lifted to squarely face the council. As one, 5 voices spoke, "We truly accept." 11 council members nodded. Lexi nodded and stepped further behind the 6 newly inducted teammates. A bright white light blinked swiftly as a settling warmth edged its way into the 6 mages' minds. "We, the council," announced the fully bonded teammates of 6 mages. "We, the council, have inducted and accepted this team as fully trained mages. May the elders before us go with you, and may the elders grace your future. So we, the council, witnessed. So we, the council, decreed." 11 voices spoke as one as they closed the last rite to the bonded team. With a huge sigh, all the occupants slowly relaxed after the ending of their last rites. Osiris was the first to break the silence. "Have you been able to fulfill my request, council?" "Yes, my dear mage. We Avenue already sent out the request for you 6 to join the staff at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster Albus Dumbledore shall receive this missive just before the day of the attack in Hogsmeade, I believe. As we had already foreseen the attack and planned accordingly, our spiritual and elemental guides will open a path for you into the Forbidden Forest. You will arrive at least a half hour before the attack. Most of the students will be in the village when it is attacked. As you had requested, we've sent small details of a possible attack on the students there, giving no names but the appearance of possible spies. Quote, "Thank you, council. As representative to She-Demon, and before you leave just yet, War Mage Osiris, I must insist that the traitor's soul shall be in her complete grasp by the winter solstice. She-Demon has decided to allow some fun to prove your worth to the pathetic being daring to continue on his path of damnation, calling it salvation." The 2 Death's messengers for this particular mission simply bowed their heads in acknowledgement. Then, as one full body, the 6 mages swiftly turned on their heels and glided from the room beneath the appreciative stares of the council and Lexi. New Allies. Chapter 8. New Allies. Knock, knock. Come in. Several school professors walked into the headmaster's office to find Albus grinning at them, causing them to warily look back. "Welcome. Glad you could make it. Albus, what is this all about?" "In time, Minerva. In time. Take a seat." Transfiguring some items into comfortable chairs, Albus waited for his staff to sit. From a drawer he pulled out 2 pieces of parchment. "I received these missives early this morning. Fox found the parchments laying on my desk before I woke. After checking them both and deeming them safe, I was quite surprised to read the contents. The first missive states we will have new additions to our staff here at Hogwarts, whom shall arrive sometime tomorrow. We already have the werewolf and his mangy mutt. We have no need for more incompetence, Albus." At those words, a large black dog, lying curled in a corner, growled at the potion master. "That's true, Severus, but I seemingly have no choice." Quote, "Let me guess. The incompetent Ministry of Magic has finally taken an unknown interest in Hogwarts." The werewolf, Remus Lupin of Defense Against the Dark Arts, barely contained his flinch at the bitter words. He knew the ministry didn't like having him in the teaching field, but no one else would fill his position. Actually, no. This missive was from a group called the Council. Holding the paper in front of him, Albus quickly re-scanned the contents. "It is this council that has demanded we allow this group to be here among us. They were kind enough to say that 2 of the members were under the orders of Queen." Minerva gasped at the name, Queen. Some of her fellow colleagues frowned in confusion. "Yes, Minerva." Turning to the others, "This woman called Queen is said to be a myth. A legend of ultimate power. But I have already decided to allow these new members to join our ranks. I cannot be truly sure of their true alliance. We will be watching them closely." Not allowing any of his staff to make any comments or complaints, Albus quickly hurried on to the other missive, the one that truly worried him. "The second missive I received has hinted that there will be an attack at Hogsmeade tomorrow while half the students are present. Are you sure, Albus? Can't we just cancel the trip tonight?" Minerva feared for those who would be in Hogsmeade. The others were shocked at the boldness of the letter. "I don't know if it is true. I won't cancel the trip because, Minerva, you and Severus will accompany the students as chaperones. Now Severus, you're going because you will know what to look for, should this be true. I will call a few Aurors, tonight, to aid us, should this happen." Remus and his dog, Snuffles, blue eyes twinkled madly at the dog. We'll watch the grounds with Hagrid. Ignoring the sudden shivers from most, he continued the plan. The other professors will keep a close eye on all the students inside the castle. Fawkes will remain here and alert those not near the castle if help is needed. Reluctantly, every professor nodded their agreement despite their opinions of this so-called plan of attack. Even with the first Hogsmeade trip being tomorrow, Severus was suspicious of this new information and spy. Considering his near-fatal beating as a spy, the Dark Lord had begun weaning out less trustworthy allies to his cause and killing those who got away. As far as he knew, Severus was the last spy yet to die. Unknown to the professors, a small team was planning their own form of attack for Hogsmeade. Voldemort has had enough time trying to take over the world and gloating his supposed victory. It's time to set him back a few steps. By the end of this trap we're setting, I want to see the despicable rat and his right-hand follower captured. Have fun with the others who are not part of the inner circle for now. Osiris knew how valuable the supposed rat was to the side of the light, who were hunting the very same creature down. He hadn't come back unprepared about any of his enemies. One of his friends snickered. Can they be dead? Five Eyes gleamed with hope, bouncing on the ends of their toes. Mockingly sighing, Osiris prepared to ruin their fun. Preferably yes, but I believe the first two captured must be alive. A few will be overjoyed at seeing the rat again. And Voldemort will decidedly be unhappy at the loss of his most powerful supporter. There goes that fun. They all pouted. Funny, guys. But listen, Raja and Maya, I want you to stay settled in the forest. When they first attack, I need you to keep the dead at your side. I know they love to cause great entrances and they'll love it more with a village full of people they're trying to eradicate. Lucas and Thor, once they all arrive, weave a quick shield over the village. I don't want the enemy leaving too early. Isis, I want you to ask the guides about raising the dead. We'll need something to prove that we are not evil. Well, not on Voldemort's side at least. I'll pull the shadows closer to the enemy and we shall meet there for our attack. And by morning, a grim Severus Snape and Minerva McGonagall could only watch He excited students dance about the village. While in the shadows 6 figures waited when several 7th-year students dragged another by their hiding place. Come on, Hermione, I promised Fred and George we would visit their shop. Ronald Weasley, I have better things to do than search a joke shop. Hermione Granger struggled to free her boyfriend's grip on her arm as their friend snickered. The redhead in question shivered at the use of his full name. But, Hermione, we've already promised to do that study group thingy from last year. And you promised to visit the shop this year. Yeah, Hermione, even as head girl, I'm sure you need to relax. Sometime. Hermione sighed in defeat. Fine. You win. She knew they meant well. For the past 2 years, she had been gaining plenty of detentions and loss points with their most hated professor or Filch. She was also spending more time in the library and bookshops, as well as tormenting their headmaster and professors for the truth. But she couldn't let things go about her best friend, Harry Potter, and probably never will, not matter the trouble she caused. Gleefully, and steadily ignoring the irate female, the Gryffindor group dragged an unresisting Hermione into the newest joke shop, one of many by the Weasley twins. In their wake, the shadows slowly breathed, almost sure they would have been seen by the overactive teenagers if they weren't distracted. By then Osiris happened glanced about when his eyes fell on a very familiar face. Whoa. He couldn't believe how healthy and filled out his old professor appeared, nor did his overactive imagination. Osiris. He pointed out a darkly robed male. Stopping his spying status has really paid off. Green eyes stared openly at the glowering Severus Snape. He raked his gaze over the black-robed figure in complete rapture and appreciation. Stop drooling. He'll still be here later. I'm sure you'll guarantee it. Right. Snapping out of his daze, Osiris quickly regained leadership but unable to stop stealing glances. Everyone, let's get into position. They should be here in moments. As they hurried to their posts, Osiris took one last lingering look at his old professor. Severus turned quickly at the feeling of being watched, finding no one. Onyx's eyes narrowed as he tuned his instincts to his surroundings. He was positive someone had been watching him intently. That feeling was never wrong, nor did he have any reason to distrust it. But his distraction was suddenly interrupted at a fierce explosion. Osiris waited, tensely, for the attack. It was coming, but it was still a surprise when one of the buildings exploded in giant flames. Emerald eyes widened at the sight of one crumbled building as several others threatened to fall. Mind quickly remembered seeing his old friends and housemates entering that very same crumbled building just moments ago. Anger simmered as loud cracks rang through the air. People began screaming and running at the sight of masked Death Eaters. Wands held out, hexes and curses flew with precision at the running victims. Within the safety of his followers, the feared Dark Lord Voldemort waited for his victory. But several more loud cracks sounded throughout the village as Aurors began to fight back. Albus Dumbledore, flanked by his potion master and transfiguration professor, stood ready to stop his old student, as well as protecting their students. Tom. Red eyes narrowed at the name as a silky hissing tone floated from beneath the hooded robe. Albus, you will cease fighting. Tom. You cannot win. Confident in his victory, Voldemort refused to stand down. I shall win, Albus. Your pathetic savior, Harry Potter, does not care for you. He's no longer here to stand for you. Hasn't for over 2 years. In the shadows, 6 figures began placing themselves around the enemy. The guides have granted us permission. We have built the barrier. Find the rat and right hand. Take them out, then push them back. A voice called out from nowhere, distracting the small battle and one Dark Lord, Tom Marvolo Riddle. Who dares to call that name? Black shadowy tendrils swarmed around every Death Eater, alerting the hidden group of each follower's identity. We have found the rat and right hand just behind the snake. Thor wants them. Without speaking, Osiris gave a mental nod to the speaker as he concentrated on the shadows. 2 sudden streaks of light streaked from the sky, slamming into 2 bodies. The tendrils swiftly grabbed them, yanking them into the fold of darkness. Then weave together into a large wall before falling. Surrounding the Dark Lord and his followers stood 6 figures, covered from head to toe. Everyone could only stare in shock, slightly wondering how they had gotten that close. As one of them spoke, "We dare to speak your name." Wand raised, Voldemort ready to curse. "Who are you?" Albus watched the 6, wondering the same. "We are Death's messengers. We have come for Tom Marvolo Riddle. We have come for you." Red eyes widened. A steady hand gripped the slender wood as he spoke a single curse, Avada Kedavra. Smugly, the enemy watched as the killing curse flew freely. Albus and his team tensed at the sight of a brilliant green light slamming into one of the figures. But to their relief, and dismay of others, a voice giggled, calling out, "That actually tickled. Do it again." The curse faded to reveal a very alive, breathing, and snickering figure. Stunned, Voldemort could only stare. No one had ever survived the killing curse other than Harry Potter and himself. "Take who you wish." Now, while they're distracted, each of the 6 swiftly raised a single hand. Without a word, shimmering beams of color suddenly exploded forward, slamming into various Death Eaters. Voldemort jerked himself from the stunned trance in time to raise his wand. Osiris. Green eyes flared with energy as he called out a single curse, Avi. Condolio. Drop the barrier. He'll leave with sporadic pain. I've made the link to She-Demon for the moment. She'll end it when she's done playing. Mental snickers and nods were projected, knowing it would be a cold day in H.L. before the demonic queen tired of her new toy. With a smile, Osiris watched, and felt the faint tugging, as Voldemort suddenly fell to the ground in severe pain, screaming and convulsing. The still standing Death Eaters rushed to their leader's side at the first hint of screaming. Osiris believed he would allow their retreat for now. "Leave, Tom. We are granting you a first chance to leave alive. But you might never be free of the curse." Voldemort jerked harder against the pain spasms as the spell slightly died down. He knew the Cruciatus curse was painful but had never felt this kind of white-hot torment. Grasping onto one follower, he disappeared, followed by those still standing. But in their wake, they leave at least 7 fallen members. "Who do we have?" Osiris watched with a calm gaze as his team unmasked the few. "We've got a rat." Albus jerked in surprise at the word. He could only hope about the one being called a rat. Blue eyes glanced aside to see tensed allies as 5 voices continued to call out. "I've got a right hand here. We've got 2 disgusting things. We guess they're people, but they could stand a few lost pounds. Severus instinctively knew they were talking about 3 fathers of his students. Snickering, the last of the 5 had yanked 3 masks aside. I don't know who, but one looks like she's not too happy. The other 2 are downright mad, also. But this lady sure takes the cake with those eyes. Lucky she can't kill with sight only. Several of the Aurors, and Severus, realized one of Voldemort's true followers, the Lestranges, had been captured again. I'll hand them over. Turning to the fallen buildings, we still have a job to finish. With a flick of his hand, Osiris threw the magically bound Death Eaters at the feet of the Aurors before standing with his team. The distrusting group watched the new enemies of the Dark Lord stand side by side before the wreckage. Swirling, black, shadowy tendrils sprouted freely in intricate dances. The black vines, strengthened with magic, flew forward, wrapping themselves around ruined buildings. Bit by bit, fallen debris floated into place. Before the eyes of the viewers, the small village began to rebuild itself. Stepping aside, Osiris concentrated of drawing the shadows back into their places, as he left the women to finish. Beneath their friends' watchful eyes, the 3 women CTED hands and began directing a growing beam of light into the newly fixed buildings. With each strange word they muttered, the light began to grow. What are they doing? Osiris slowly backed his way to Albus and team, green eyes trying to keep from staring at the glaring potion master. I would advise you all to shield your eyes now. He covered his own first. Reluctantly, Albus followed the soft order, causing others to do the same. Just in time, eyes were shielded from a blinding flash, though the ears suffered a thunderous clap. Wincing, the headmaster drew up his height. What have you done? Minerva gasped loudly. Albus. All eyes were pinned on the streaming activity of the fallen victims flowing from the renewed buildings. When the explosion had sounded, both Severus and Minerva felt guilty at not being able to save most of the students. But now, they watched in joy and relief as their fallen charges sprang forward with shocked faces, living again. Osiris turned his attention to the shocked team and bowed. We shall meet again, Headmaster Dumbledore. He knew they wouldn't trust them, nor would they want this new group to suddenly disappear. How right he was when wands were raised in their direction. But before a single command or spell could be said, Osiris flourished a blinding wall of pure blackness to spring forward. Now blinded, the Aurors and professors could but not pinpoint the flurry of feet as the small group fled the village. Albus swished his wand with an aura of power, finite. But the blinding spell remained, nor would Lumos work either. Once in safety, Osiris spoke a single word to end their suffering, Decino. The meeting. Chapter 9. A meeting. Osiris. The young war mage stared at the gloomy castle. Here it's only been 2 years my mind and body says it has been over 10 years. I've missed Hogwarts. It was my home for 4 years. 2 hands gently caressed his shoulders. You have another home as well, Osiris. But we are glad to have this chance to revisit with you. Osiris turned to his friends, thankful for their support but wishing it could have been 2 other people. For now he hid his thoughts, concentrating on the present. Raja. Send this with your familiar. He held out a rolled parchment to one of the twins. Osiris, wait. They all started at the weak sound of their friend, for once forgetting they had used most of her energy to raise the dead. Isis. Crowded with her friends, she was fighting her basic instincts. We need make the meeting small. He has a dominant working for him. You can use the connection to show, though. A nod. Very well. I will ask for someone else and a ministry member, both who are fully human. Osiris ignored his friend's snickers at the remark about someone else. They all knew who that other person would be. Darkly glaring at the quietly laughing mages, he shoved a new parchment into a waiting hand. Just deliver it. And Raja delivered. She had sent a creature that would attract the headmaster's attention. A lovely silver blue tinged phoenix glided through the castle walls without a care. Inside the castle, students were settling down for a hot meal when a sorrowful song rang out. Eyes peered about just as a phoenix suddenly flew through the solid stone walls of the great hall. Stunned, they watched as the bird fluttered to a stop before the headmaster. Albus gently tugged the rolled parchment from its leg. A soft humming echoed through the room as he tried to pet the bird. Blue eyes widened in shock as his hand went right through the beautiful creature. The worn golden eyes twinkled back as the phoenix gracefully jumped into full flight. With one sweep of the room, the lovely bird perched itself on the shoulders of one student, a student that stunned everyone. Draco Malfoy of the Slytherin house. With poise and grace, the bird preened its feathers as the other Slytherins tried to pet it. Just like the headmaster, their hands went right through the body. But when a stunned Draco reached out with trembling hands, he was able to touch the soft feathers. Albus glanced quickly through his letter before speaking. Mr. Malfoy, the aristocratic blonde fought to neutralize his demeanor. You have been chosen to be Ileana's caretaker until her owner decides to claim her. The blonde Slytherin nodded as Albus turned to the other students. Students, Ileana is a very rare phoenix. A spirit phoenix. These types of creatures are very loyal to their chosen but can be very difficult in obtaining their trust. They can remain intangible at will. They are also very aggressive and powerful creatures when threatened. They also cannot abide pure evil or hatred from anyone, only choosing a pure soul to touch them as their owner. For these reasons, Mr. Malfoy, you may have her with you at all times. Draco grinned at the shocked students even as the headmaster continued, I will not tolerate anyone bothering Mr. Malfoy. The punishments for those who try are immediate 50 points taken in a month's detention of Professor Snape's choosing, not matter your house. Everyone could see the look the headmaster had given the few mutinous Slytherins. Even the dark glare from their own head of house, before Albus continued, but on a lighter note, enjoy the rest of your dinner. Albus, what was that all about? The other professors quickly pounced on the headmaster while the students grudgingly finished their meals. Simple. Minerva, our new guests have arrived and requested a meeting with one human ministry member and Severus Snape. Blue's EY's twinkled madly as he waited for a reaction, although he was curious about choosing a human ministry member. Severus, said Professor almost choked on his drink at the squawk from Minerva. Albus chuckled at the woman's reaction, as well as those who had managed to spit out their drinks, though Flitwick had fallen from his chair. Students began to look at each of them strangely. That's what the note requested. Now, since most of the students are already leaving, Severus will follow me. The joyful older wizard practically skipped out the great hall, followed by a scowling, robe-flaring potion master. And who is this ministry member we are entertaining? Chuckling, I knew you would lighten up, my boy. The scowl became darker and deadlier. I believe Arthur Weasley should suffice. Severus groaned in disgust. I've dealt with enough incompetence from this family. Allowing the man to rant his feelings, Albus tossed a bit of flow powder into his fireplace. Arthur Weasley. Moments later a head appeared in the flames. Albus. Hello, Arthur. I do hope I haven't interrupted anything. But I need you here in my office, please. Sure. Molly's busy with the twins. Arthur's head pulled away from the flames seconds before his entire body tumbled through. What can I help you with? Oh, hello, Severus. Severus grunted. Albus grinned at the lack of comment. I've been summoned to my own office for a meeting. I was told to invite Severus Snape and a human member of the ministry. Naturally I asked for you, Arthur. Arthur opened his mouth to speak about the human part when Fawkes gave a shrill cry before bursting into flames. That's strange. Fawkes is dazed from a burning day. Raja told him to wait outside and to keep the others from interrupting us. All three turned CKLY to see six figures glide from various shadows about his office. Albus was the first to recover. Who are you? We're Death's messenger. Two figures took a step forward, one draped in purple and the other in black, bowing. The one in black slipped a hand out to point to the others. These are the twins. Two identical emerald-hooded figures bowed, pushing back their long capes. They could see the identical women smile. We are spirit mages Raja and Maya. One twin took one step forward, her husky lilt ringing clear, I am Maya. The other twin stepped to her sister's side, a childlike sweetness to her voice, I am Raja. Taking his own cue, a figure in midnight blue colors revealed his face, I am Elemental Mage Thor. A fourth draped in dark gray bowed deeply, pulling off his hood as he straightened. I am Silver Mage Lucas. The black-hooded leader turned to his companion as they both revealed themselves, we are War Mages Osiris and Isis. Three pairs of eyes widened when Osiris revealed his features. The long black hair and brilliant emerald eyes almost made them believe that Harry Potter had arrived. But Severus was the first to toss the idea. Harry Potter would have been about 17, should he return. This man was at least in his late 20s and broader in looks than the skinny teenager he had taught. Nor did he find the famous scar on the man's face. "Why are you here?" "We are here for Tom Marvolo Riddle, Voldemort to most." Voldemort had at one time created an unbreakable deal with She-Demon. She-Demon promised to be his ally in ruling the world, but He has failed to follow her words when he lied to her about the destruction of one of her descendants, the Potters. James Potter had demon blood in his family. This type of blood automatically has She-Demon's protection. But at the time She-Demon had believed Tom's lies of being framed. Who is this She-Demon? No. Albus jerked back, blinking at the hostile tone. Osiris quickly intervened. "Forgive us. But unless you are of her bloodline or her direct ally, you are forbidden to speak her name for fear of punishment. To others she has always been called Queen." "Ah, yes, the legendary Queen of Power. She-Demon has a vast empire. A hellish realm of demons. She also controls the vast amount of power needed to build schools, ministries, and banks, as well as the land they are in which the founders had always obtained permission. Otherwise the magic needed for these buildings would drain even the most powerful." "Wizard, this contract you speak of, what was it, if I may ask?" Albus listened to the descriptions given. Most of it began to explain the unexplainable events that had happened, as well as the strength of magic within the halls of Hogwarts. Voldemort had invoked She-Demon's magic to become the most powerful being he is today. With her alliance, he would rule the magical world as agreed. But after the night of the Potter's death, everything began to change. Until She-Li Rned the truth about who murdered a part of her bloodline, her protection to Voldemort allowed him to survive the killing curse while Harry Potter lived through his parents' sacrifices to save him. Should this alliance had remained, Albus Dumbledore, would have never be able to defeat him nor Harry Potter, though Voldemort would have had a hard time defeating the boy. It is truly rare for a demon to die by the killing curse. Only half-demons can, which explains the Potter's death. She-Demon decides the life and death of those in her bloodline, as well as her enemies. Blue Eyes had lost their gleam at first, but the smirking group brought the gleam back, tenfold. What happened? She-Demon had seen the resurrection of Voldemort, through his own familiar. But something about the blood-taken Harry Potter had intrigued her, as well as the brilliance of the boy's green eyes. She-Demon had a few friends research the entire Potter heritage. Within days she learned that she had been lied to. She-Demon loves to torment her enemies by sending someone who would do whatever it took to destroy them first. Then the enemy's soul is captured in a blessed object of her magic and sent to her for eternal torment. Although the body still has some life and the captors can do as they will to the body until they are satisfied. Whatever the body feels, the soul suffers. The twins answered the confusion at this statement. Queen's blessed magic splits the spirit from its shell but leaves enough residue to allow life. She controls the spirit until her allies have exhausted their need for revenge. Then the spirit will be brought to full animation for her enjoyment. Isis shuddered. "Let me tell you that it is not very pretty either." "Very well." Lemon Drop Snickers graced his chan. GE of questions, but 6 hands reached out for the candy. "What now, my friends? We all require a position with your staff, but shall leave that decision to you. First, you must know a little about us, especially Isis." "I'll allow the twins first." Raja was the first to speak. "I have the ability to control and communicate with wildlife. As a spirit mage I do not have to worry about what creature, or spirit creature, I call forth. Whether they're a myth or reality." Maya was next. "I have the ability to control plant life. I call forth plants of all types, as well as control the surroundings they need to thrive in. As a second spirit mage I am also able to communicate with the dead as well as find life threads of those in danger." Osiris rolled his eyes before adding, "They are also spirits themselves but have the ability to become tangible. You would be the owners of the lovely phoenix." The word tangible reminded Albus of the lovely phoenix. Raja bounced on her feet. "Me?" Glaring at her laughing friends. "I belong to her. Spirit phoenixes do not belong to someone. In reality we belong to them. As you know, I'm elemental mage Thor. I hate to interrupt, but you can't shut the twins up once they start. He smirked at the glaring twins. I have control over the elements, though I happen to personally enjoy lightning. I also happen to be a vampire of the Amboise clan. Osiris leaned forward, brushing against Severus as he jokingly whispered loudly, Thor never could say much to save his life. A low threatening growl made Osiris stand behind the tensed professor, purposely brushing their bodies closer. Go ahead, Lucas, before I do something I'll regret to our esteemed leader. I'm a silver mage. I have control over anything silver. I am also a Lithirian elf, the only clan of elves never to have healers. We are also the only elves having control over the iron in the blood, allowing us a hold over life. We're also the only ones to have actual Vila blood mixed with elfish blood, without having to integrate the two lines. Is it safe? Green eyes peered around Severus, who had forgotten about the male hiding behind him. Osiris smirked when the man tore away from him. I'm the only human to have training as a mage, let alone a war mage. I am also the right hand to she-demon, her first death's messenger. He purposely forgot to add anything else to the list. Isis nervously turned to the headmaster. I'm a war mage, a second death's messenger, and a rare fallen angel. Several breaths were inhaled quickly as she hurried on. I am a dominantly powerful dem. On who turns submissive around true dominance. My kind can only mate with a true dominant, though I have yet to find my mate. Pointing towards Lucas and Thor, dominants include vampires, elves, Vilas, werewolves, and such. Should I become close to my mate, I turn into my true form. Otherwise my eyes turn from lavender to a dark purple, indicating possible dominance nearby. Here she pointed to her eyes as they glimmered a dark purple with flashes of lavender. She stood aside from the others, eyes darkening further. I know you have a dominant in this castle. I'm drawing upon his dominant gene, as well as my fellow mages. To override mine, she-demon is influencing the need to change for my mate to show you my true form. Should I change, I become submissive and dependent on my mate. Closing her eyes, they watched as Isis melted into her true form. Her purple cape shrunk into delicate chains, wrapping into the floor-length black hair. A V-shaped golden tiara settled upon her forehead, as her clothing shimmered into an ankle-length dress. Her bare feet shuffled beneath the dress as her hands played with the black cord about her waist, causing the open sleeves to dance about. Carefully turning at her queen's order, they could see that her dress had slits from ankle to thigh. But truly surprising were the two large black purple-tipped wings sprouting forward, spreading their large wingspan in the office. The silky tips brushed those close enough to feel them. Another order from her queen helped her change back into her regular form. We are the only demons to resemble humans. I shall find a placement for you all, but first, what was that spell you said earlier against Voldemort, and why didn't Finite work on the other spell against us? Albus had been eager to know this since meeting the young mages again. Osiris smirked at the curious wizard. Avicondolio means to cause severe pain. This spell creates a link from the caster to the victim, linking them mentally. The CA stir is then able to force pain onto their victim until the spell is undone, in which she-demon is using my link to her to cause Tom pain. I may be the caster, but she is in full control. And the counter spell for the shadow wall was Decino, meaning to finish or break off. These spells require higher levels of magic or the most powerful caster, such as she-demon. New Professors. Chapter 10. New Professors. Monday morning found the Great Hall alive with waking students. At the head table, the headmaster watched as conversations began to gain more content. The lovely spirit Phoenix fluttered and preened about Draco Malfoy, causing the old man to chuckle. Smiling, he quickly stood, gaining everyone's attention. Good morning, students. Several growls could be heard from the few students yet to become early risers. The energetic headmaster could only add more brightness to his announcement. I have the pleasure in announcing the arrival of new staff members as they were not able to arrive last night. Several of our professors have agreed to have assistances this year. Our new professors will be respected and obeyed. They are able to take house points as well as give. But I must emphasize is the need to be careful around them, for they are mages. Whispers exploded at the word as Albus began the introductions. First, Spirit Mages Raja and Maya. Spirit Mage Raja, who will be assisting Hagrid in care of magical creatures. Can control the spirits of various wildlife, even mythical. Spirit Mage Maya, who will be assisting Professor Sprout in herbology, can control various plants as well as communicate with the dead. Two identical figures in hooded emerald capes pushed through the doors. Upon reaching the head table they turned to face the crowd, shoving the capes aside. Most of males began drooling at the sight of identical auburn-haired females. Both women snickered as warm golden eyes gleamed. They allowed the roving eyes to stare at the pale skin wrapped in simple emerald, floor-length dresses. While soft hide slippers of a darker shade peeked from beneath. Twin golden cords graced their waists as open sleeves connected at the shoulders and thin wrists. Pretending to be uncaring of the drooling males. Both twins split ways to stand at either end of the head table as the headmaster announced the next mage, who had gracefully glided inside the great hall. Second, Silver Mage Lucas. He will be helping Professor Binns in history class. Silver Mage Lucas has control over all silver objects as well as the iron in our blood. He is also a Lithurian elf. The dark gray cape was shoved aside, allowing the girls to all sigh at the elf. Comfortably dressed in various shades of gray, the elf bowed deeply to the students. Icy blue eyes twinkled at the swooning Famal. As a single hand shoved the long locks of whitish blonde hair aside as he strode to Raj's side, sharing amused looks with the female mage. Albus merrily laughed at his students. Next, Elemental Mage Thor. Elemental Mage Thor will be assisting Madame Pomfrey in the hospital wing and Professor McGonagall in Transfiguration. Elemental Mage Thor is part of the Amboise clan. The next male gracefully stalked to the head table, tossing back a midnight blue cape. With a twirl, spiraling out his cape, he faced the speechless students. Every female felt they would drop in a dead faint. The dark honey blonde smiled, flashing his fangs all the while revealing he was a vampire. Dancing dark brown eyes glittered in tightly controlled amusement as the dragon hide boots stormed to Maya's side. Muscles bunched beneath the tightly fitted dark blue outfit, causing even louder sighs of pure adoration and desire. From those sounds, my friends, I'm quite glad we refused to allow Isis here. Despite the werewolf being here, she would cause everyone to faint or longingly stare at her for being a fallen angel. Just remember, Osiris, you're the last one to be called. You put the meaning into dark sin. Osiris snorted at the mental laughter, not really caring about his looks. He waited as the headmaster announced his arrival. Lastly, we have two war mages, though one of them could not make it. She is War Mage Isis. She is from a race called Rare Fallen Angels. All purebloods froze at the name. They had heard about fallen angels but not rare fallen angels. She will be relieving Professor Lupin in defense against the dark arts during the full moon week of each month. Otherwise she will be residing in the Forbidden Forest, in which no one will enter without her guidance and my permis. Scion should they wish to learn more about her. But for now I would like to introduce the second mage, War Mage Osiris. He will be assisting Professor Snape in potions. Since both assistants are war mages, they have abilities in physical and weapon combat as well as dangerously high levels of magic. Albus thought it was prudent to explain to the Muggle-borns that war mages were quite dangerous, as well as to his other students who just may cause harm to themselves should they accidentally or purposely upset the mages. Osiris stormed in, allowing his black cape to bellow around his frame. The sea. Uncomfortably loose dark clothing clung to him in the invisible breeze. Everyone had frozen, almost believing that Harry Potter had arrived, but the non-appearance of the famous Scar said otherwise, as well as his age. Brilliant emerald eyes glowed with power as the long raven hair was pulled back at the nape. His dragon hide boots distinctly tapped out an aura of danger. His tall broad frame caused a few males to drool alongside the females. Severus sneered at the thought of being guilt-tripped into sharing his classroom. There could be no way a war mage knew anything of potions or the art in making them. But the slamming of doors interrupted his musings. Minister Cornelius Fudge and three Aurors suddenly stormed the great hall, sneering at those inside. Headmaster Dumbledore. Ah, Fudge, how pleasant of you to stop by to greet our new professors. The man sneered at the five assistants, who simply stared back in unnerving gazes, causing the minister to slightly falter before catching himself. I'm not here for them. Though it would be nice to see that thing, he points to Remus Lupin, leave his teaching position. I assure you, Fudge, that Professor Lupin has yet, nor will he cause harm to anyone. We have someone who will be helping him in class, especially during full moons, as well as Professor Snape preparing the Wolfsbane potion. But how can I help you? I may not rove it, but I know you are in constant contact with one Sirius Black. I am here to present to you an order of clearance. One of the Death Eaters caught days ago was, indeed, Peter Pettigrew. Under Vir Itaserum we questioned him about the Potters and Black's cases. Sirius Black is now a free man, as of yesterday. He has been giving back his lands and full access to his vaults as well as a hefty compensation for being wrongly accused and imprisoned. Fudge grudgingly handed over a carefully rolled and sealed parchment. Albus smiled as he opened the sheet, reading the announcement of his friend's freedom. I will be sure to give this to him, somehow. Yes, I'm sure you will. Rita Skeeter has already written an article of his freedom, it should be out by tomorrow. The other Death Eaters have been either imprisoned or given the kiss with Pettigrew. Good day. Without waiting, the minister and his bodyguards fled the castle. Something about the new professors unnerved them, causing them to hasten even faster. Once their backs were turned, everyone cheered at the announcement as a great black dog leapt forward, suddenly changing into Sirius Black. I'm free. Several students screamed at his sudden appearance. Remus. I'm free. The black-haired animagus threw himself into his mate's arms. Albus turned to the students, as I'm sure some of you will be disappointed, all classes are cancelled for today. One student was torn between cheering for her friend's freedom and the nagging feeling that she was missing something since the new professors, the mages, had been introduced. A part of her kept yelling, Harry's here. But she ignored it at the moment to cheer with the rest of the Gryffindors and promised to view everything, once again, about her friend's disappearance, as well. Is the strange feeling she was not seeing something that she should have already figured out. Dada Lessons. Chapter 11. Dada Lessons. 7th year Gryffindors and Slytherins scowled at each other, as they waited for their new professor of defense against the dark arts. It had been 2 weeks since the meeting of new professors and the freedom of Sirius Black, which led them to anticipation of meeting a fallen angel. I still wish Harry was here. He deserves to know his godfather was freed by the minister. I'm sure he's fine, Ron. And I'm sure he has a wonderful explanation as to why he isn't here. Hermione's only thought had been, he better have a good reason for putting me through all this trouble of trying to find him. And I'm sure Potty is just too scared to show his scarred face. All the Slytherins cracked up in laughter at the comment from their prince as fought to keep face among his house since the arrival of Eliania, even though a few were still suspicious of him. Shut up, Ferret, you're just afraid that he'll come back stronger than you ever could be. Ron, sit down. Hermione tried to grab her boyfriend when he leapt to his feet to physically attack another student. Ron refused to listen to his girlfriend as he faced the blonde aristocrat. Just as the two were ready for blows, a voice called out, 20 points from both houses for fighting and another 20 for the insults. Everyone froze as a young woman practically bounced into the room. They openly stared as she swept the purple cape from her shoulders to the teacher's chair. Standing before the class I.N.A. form-fitting lavender one-piece, she watched the males, and a few discreet females, openly stare. Every one of them had their mouths open in shock at the sight of the outfit wrapped around honey-colored skin. The soft leather ankle boots glided about the room, as lavender eyes peered openly at the strange items. Guess I should introduce myself. I'm War Mage Isis. Since I haven't been able to talk to your original professor about what you are learning in this class, you'll learn what I think you should learn. Glancing at the still openly staring class, I'd pull in those eyes before I start docking. She laughed loudly at the audible gulps and deadly glares of the few irate girlfriends. Perching on top the teacher's desk she began, since I've got you for a few hours, we'll start with something simple. Will we learn about your friends? Every student was glad the class brain had asked about the mages running about the school. You are Hermione Granger. Ah, Ms. Granger. Yes, we will. Who knows about the Amboise clan? A Slytherin was the first to speak. I was told by my parents that the Amboise clan were wiped out, but they are the only vampire clan to reproduce vampires instead of turning victims. It's said they couldn't feed off anyone but their mate. Very good. 10 points, but they still live. She raised a brow at the smugness of one side of the class and the glares from the other. As you know, Thor. Elemental Mage Thor to you, is part of this clan. He has already met his mate. Suddenly she stopped. I would advise writing this down. She waited for the frantic scrambling to calm. As I was saying, Thor has met his mate and has a child on the way. They are also the only vampire clan to have any type of control over the elements, though they are deadly fighters with those fangs. But Thor's personal favorite tool is lightning. I'd advise against angering him. He tends to put plenty of power behind one bolt. She grimaced at remembering her training with him before continuing. Unlike other vampires, Amboise vampires only take a pint of blood once a month. Takes that long to cycle through their entire system. They normally like to have blood from donators then killing. Usually from demons since demonic blood is very potent and powerful, lasts for about 2 months. Once marked, their mate will have unlimited blood supply, unless it's an other vampire in which donors are frequent. They are also immortal. They can only die by someone of my blood. They are truly dangerous should they go months without feeding and can only be weakened by bullets or stakes. She waited before asking another question since most of the class were between feeling ill and frantically writing, who knows about Lithurians? This time a shy Gryffindor spoke. Lithurians are a rare race of elves. My grandmother told me that they are the only elves that cannot heal but can kill with a single thought. 10 points. Lithurians are a rare race of elves. It is known that elves have healing capabilities, therefore they are better healers, but the Lithurians have never had healers from their bloodlines. They are also the only elves to have true elfish and Vela blood integrated together. Should a Lithurian reproduce, the last odd number of children, or the first only child, will become a full-blooded Vela. And trust me when I say it is common. This race is the only ones with the ability over iron in the bloodstream, in which they can control by mind. Untreated wounds can weaken them since they cannot heal. Elves have naturally long lives, normally dyi. In battle are the end of their long lives. Their mates are usually elves. They can be gentle creatures but quite ruthless in protecting their lives, mates, and land. How do they choose their mates? Most creatures choose by an intoxicating scent, others by strength. The Amboise clan, for example, must pick someone strong enough to bear vampiric children and handle the roughness in bed, usually a demon or another vampire. Several students flushed at her statement, but they are very good in bed if you are into that. She brightly smiled as the flushes turned an even brighter red. What about the twins? She snickered at the sudden change. The spirit mages Raja and Maya are what they said. They're true spirits, or ghosts if you wish, with the ability to become tangible. Maya has an ability to see life's thread of any living thing. She only uses this ability to track someone in danger since she's able to communicate with the dead, as well as control plant life. Raja has been known to create her own spirit animal, as well as creating new creatures. Ileana is her familiar but the phoenix chose her. Spirit phoenixes always chose their pet. We are pets to them instead of master. But they will always be loyal to the first person they chose, choosing them again over anyone else. And since they're spirits, they are limitless in age and cannot die. But they do have the chance every decade to cross over from this world. The students scribbled quickly as they move on to the next question, saving the best for last. What about War Mage Osiris? What is he? Actually he's human and a wizard. This caused everyone to feel a slight whiplash as his or her head shot up. He's the first human to be trained as a mage. The twins had come across him when Maya felt someone on the threshold of death. We healed him and trained him since. He's been with us over 10 years, though he is also the first human to be hand-selected by She-Demon to serve as her ally. Isis quickly straightened her posture after that sentence. I recommend you calling her queen. If not, the consequences could be very bad. The class frightfully nodded. Good. She-Demon is the ruler over a hellish demonic realm. She controls all those of demonic blood, her bloodline. It is rare for her to choose someone outside her bloodline, but she chose Osiris to be her right hand, a death's messenger. A death's messenger is someone who will hunt down the enemies deserving punishment by She-Demon. She kept her friend's story simple and slightly truthful, just as they had sworn. What about you? Who knows about rare fallen angels or fallen angels? Quote, the purebloods in Gryffindor fought with the Slytherins for the answer. Fallen angels are rumored to be those who betrayed their lord in heaven and were cast out. They are said to be beautiful creatures, almost human, with wings who try to lure others into the path of sin but also rumored to be quite ruthless. They are also creatures of myth and legend, believed to have begun the lines of various mythical creatures. Fallen angels have also been known to provide the rarest ingredients for the most powerful potions, their wings and blood. They are also very powerful creatures on their own, magical signatures non-existent nor traceable when in use. They have said to have bestowed this type of magic on such creatures as the house elves. Isis was stunned at the amount of answers she received. The students knew quite a bit about part of her heritage. Wow. Very good. I believe that will be 50 points to each of you. Everyone who had answer. Ed looked very proud at the amount of points they received, especially the Slytherins, since it was rare to receive that many points in any class but potions. Despite the points, Isis began the tale of her kind. I am a rare fallen angel. With a sly grin, I am currently at 2,500 years of age. That's impossible. The stunned shriek of Hermione Granger had voiced every student's opinion. Nothing could live that long, not even an immortal, since something or someone stronger always vanquished the weaker. Quietly laughing, it is possible. We are, at the moment, true immortals. Like the twins and Thor. We are immune to such things as the killing curse. I'm sure most of you heard about someone surviving it at the Hogsmeade attack. They nodded, eager to write and learn more. That was me. We are immortal because only another rare fallen angel's blood can kill us, like the Amboise clan. My blood would be a slow-acting poison, very painful. Despite how we can or should die, our limitless Jess are incorporated into our mates of all immortals. Wait, your mates can live just as long. When we mate, our bonding ceremony, in bed, here she winked, causing the students to flush again, our mate will mark us. This mark will cause our magic and lives to meld together. Our mate will never age nor will they die. But should she demon call for death, our mates are unaffected, they will simply finish out their lifespan before they were marked. This means, should I mate with a wizard and then die, this wizard would simply live to the extent of normal wizard lifespan. But it is possible for my kind to have more than one mate. But how do fallen angels find a mate? Fallen angels have a choice of who they wish to mate with. Like Velas, they send out pheromones to attract the mate they wish to seduce. Though I believe Velas choose the perfect mate to complement them. But should the fallen angels change their minds about their chosen mate, they can change their allurement to someone else as long as it's before the bonding. But we, rare fallen angels, have no choice in mates. My kind is very rare indeed, about one born every 100 years. I believe there are only 20 of us. Still alive by she-demon's word. First you must understand who we are. The class waited with anticipation as their professor shifted into a more comfortable spot. Rare fallen angels are truly dominant in power and war. We take great pride in our ability to fight, perform magic, and to torture. But should we find our mate, we become completely submissive, meaning someone who is entirely dependent on that mate. Rare fallen angels have a true form of submission. What you see now is not my true form. Should I meet my mate, my body will alter. In our true forms, we all grow black wings, the tips a separate color depending on our eyes. Here she blinked lavender eyes before continuing. Our clothing will change to a more suitable, meaning easy to remove, attire. My attire is similar to the spirit mages. We will lose all control over our bodies and mind. We can only do as our mate says. Should I be in battle and meet my mate, I would revert immediately to my true form. Unless said otherwise, I will always remain in this form, unable to fight or do anything on my own. That's terrible. Hermione thought that type of power was cruel. Ms. Granger, you must understand. Rare fallen angels are the most powerful creatures alive. Unless someone dominates us or gains some control, our powers can become very destructive otherwise. We rival she-demon in power, which is why there aren't many of us alive. Just one of us is enough to bring your world to its knees, even if Voldemort should die. Mouths dropped in shock, while a select few plot to tell their parents. Until I am truly claimed, she-demon has me in check. Should I lose control, I shall die. This is why we are submissive and dependent. As you asked before about mates, we are submissive to true dominant creatures, rarely to wizards unless they are quite powerful. These true dominant creatures can be other demons, werewolves like your regular professor, elves, and such. Where I am from I had yet to meet my mate, but there have been a few tugs on my magic while being here in your world. Your mate's here, someone had called from the back, hidden by his or her fellow classmates, causing her to smile. Quite possibly. You see, rare fallen angels will send out magical tendrils of power to those true dominants. It will search for the perfect mate. When it does find our match, our magic will enforce a deep need to claim. Even in a coma or submissive state, my magic would force my mate to come forth and claim me, or at least give some sign to those who dare to try and violate me in any way. Okay, what about more than one mate? Some of the students were confused. The only way I may have another mate than the one claiming me is if they air bonded. This means should my perfect mate already had bonded to someone else, that second person will also claim me. I would remain submissive to the two. Otherwise I can only have one mate. Hermione sighed as she realized Ron was still confused. Ron, this is what she meant. She can only have one mate. But if someone like Professor Lupin should try and claim her, Sirius would also be her dominant mate since he was already claimed by Professor Lupin. Oh, I get it now. Those who understood had laughed at their confused counterparts, while Hermione was glad Professor Lupin had already announced to the school that Sirius Black was his mate once he was freed. It had made that part of the lesson easier to explain. Although it helped to clear any confusion, Hermione couldn't help but feel that her new professor was hiding something. That something was involved with the feeling of the other mages. The feeling that one of them was causing her to miss something. Something she should have already figured out. Annoying Snape. Chapter 12. Annoying Snape. Last class for the day, Severus. Onyx eyes pinned a deadly glare at the new assistant, War Mage Osiris, who simply stared back with amusement. One would hope you would refrain from brainless jumping, considering you have yet proved your worth. War Mage. Osiris chuckled at the dry tone. I have worth. Just usually useless in potions. He simply shrugged, knowing he carelessly allowed something of his past out. Besides, he liked knowing he had bothered the man during that last few days by just being there and quiet until now. Severus was quick to pick up. What in Merlin's name are you here for? I said usually. He pouted at the question. I just don't see the use. Osiris waited for the wish it could kill on the spot. Glare and was rewarded for his patience. Potions is an art, something these imbeciles know nothing of. I would have expected more from a war mage, such as yourself. Shrugging off the insult, I never cared for them. Isis was the one who loved to experiment. She's a rare fallen angel, very useful, I think, in potions. She was always forcing us to mix our abilities into the pot, guess you could say. Never really cared for volatile ingredients when experimenting. Severus groaned in defeat, hands clutched at closed eyes, body tensed as he tried to control his willful need to strangle the man. He couldn't believe Albus dared to hang a worthless mage onto him, especially one with little care for potions. Ears tuned into every movement the male made when Severus felt sudden warmth against his side. Jerking his head up to see amused green eyes, what do you think you're doing? Stop hissing so much, Severus. One would think you're part snake. Ought to save it for the bedroom, best place for such noise. Osiris mentally chuckled, keeping his face carefully blank when Severus whirled on him in absolute shock. He turned his attention to the smoking cauldron while allowing the professor time to recollect himself. What's in this? Severus had frozen in shock at the blunt bedroom remark. If he wasn't mistaken, he could have swore the mage had meant something by it. Thankfully, Osiris had turned away for the moment. Grating out between clamped teeth, Wolfsbane. I prepared it for this week for a fellow professor. You should know him. Ah, yes, Remus Lupin. Werewolf once a month. Too bad he already has a mate. Osiris had yet to remove his body from touching the professor's. And he knew Severus refused to back away without reasonable cause, which wouldn't make it look like running. Could become permanent. Isis has been going on about reinventing a potion for werewolves for months. Hasn't been able to find the right ingredients or a willing participant. A dark gaze fell on the inspecting mage, curious as to know more but cautious to wait. I suspect you should be ready for class. I do not need another child to deal with again, nor do I need my things misplaced by your constant moving. You should talk to Isis about this. She would love to help. By the way, stop hissing. Your voice is going a tad too deep to keep me sane. I wouldn't want your students walking into something they shouldn't see. Osiris could hear the approaching feet nearing the classroom. But he couldn't resist one more remark when Severus stared at him with pure shock and uncertainty. This time he dropped his voice to a whisper, "Close your mouth before they arrive." "Wouldn't do to see. The great sarcastic potion master unhinged are having me try closing it in a very inappropriate way." Osiris could barely contain his laughter as a glowering Severus readied himself to rip into his assistant. But a trickling of students had just begun to arrive, talking excitedly about their previous class and professor. Stepping in front of a floundering professor, Osiris quickly gained everyone's attention. "I take it you had a great class with Isis." Nods echoed from rivaling Gryffindors and Slytherins. "Isis was a little scared that you wouldn't like her class. She has never taught anyone. With one exception, me." Seeing the questioning looks and the penetrating deadly glare from behind, he hurried forward. "Next class, ask about her training me. It's along your class theories. But I think someone is a little upset with me." Snarling, 10 points from Gryffindor for edging on a new professor. "War Mage, I insist you sit with the Slytherins to assist them." Possible Mates. Chapter 13. Possible Mates. Remus. "What's wrong?" Remus Lupin glanced up from the crowded desk to eye his concerned mate, Sirius Black. "It's fine, Sirius. I've been going over the essays War Ma. Ge Isis had assigned during her week with the class." Ex-con Sirius Black watched his tawny-eyed mate shuffle some of the papers around. He had watched his mate over the past few days become unbearable at times. Usually those times Sirius could have sworn there was no reason for Remus to feel threatened. Nor could he understand why Remus was feeling very overprotective of Sirius and their surroundings. "Remus, I don't believe you. For the past few days you've changed in personality completely. At times I just don't understand." Sighing, Remus laid his head down on the desk. He had known something was wrong but couldn't place it. For some odd reason he had hoped something would show in the classes his replacement had taught. He had yet to find it. All he knew was that the wolf in him was becoming more unbearable each day. Wanting to be freed, he was forcing himself to remain passive when dealing with his mate when the wolf wanted to dominate over its submissive. Remus. A warm hand care. SSED. The tensed back as the wolf in him went insane at the sudden inhaling of a desired scent. Remus knew Sirius all too well. This scent was not his. "I'm sorry, Sirius. It's the wolf." "What do you mean? I thought we were controlling him." Dark eyes met with tawny eyes. Sirius could see the feral glint threatening to overcome the man. "Remus, I don't know. The wolf wants control. There's a scent driving it insane with domination. It's as if there's a submissive just waiting to be claimed and it's what the wolf wants. I know your scent well. I still want you, even the wolf wants you." But Sirius had always feared that the wolf never really wanted him, even when he was claimed. But he couldn't leave Remus, not ever. "There's just something, that particular scent and tugging at my magic. I don't know what it is yet. Not one of the professors can explain, especially Severus. Even Albus refused to help me. I can't pin down any of the mages. War Mage Isis has never been seen by anyone but the students during class. The professors have been waiting to meet her but only Albus and Severus have met her." Sirius dragged his mate into a loving embrace, nuzzling the pale throat. "I'm sure we'll find out. That's why I'm searching these essays. Don't ask, but there's a feeling that say they'll explain." Remus pulled away to shuffle through more papers. He was slightly surprised when his mate grabbed a handful. "Careful, Sirius. I don't think she's even looked at them yet." Sheepishly, Sirius grinned in response. "Sorry about that. Got a little carried away. A first in wanting to do homework or studying." Remus ignored the "hey" from his mate. "Hey, Remus. Here, it's Hermione's." Sirius handed over a single parchment to the anxious werewolf. "Rare Fallen Angels." Both males shrugged, reading the long essay. "Leave it to Hermione to fully research something." Sirius was dragged from his thought by a low growl. "That explains quite a bit." Want to help the unknown here, love?" Remus snickered. "Hermione simply wrote a complete history and present on this subject. It seems rare fallen angels are dominantly powerful creatures capable of destruction in masses if not properly controlled. If they're left to their own, Their power can destroy our world as well as take it into control. Not good, especially with snake-faced Voldemort on the loose. That's not all. These creatures are the only ones dependent on their mates to live. Should a dominant creature override their magic, rare fallen angels will turn into their true forms. This form will be a completely submissive creature, unable to do a thing without their mate's consent. Dominant creatures also have the ability to allow the submissive to retain their powerful side and own lives, should they wish. And capable of having more than one mate, if the said dominant has already claimed someone before the submissive. Both males began to silently thank Hermione Granger for her infinite ability to always research something thoroughly. Although her studies had yet to find their godson, Harry Potter, nor did her constant troubles with other professors yield anything. And having a frustrated Class Br. Ain was difficult to appeal to or calm down during any of her sudden days of research, nor was it fun being dragged into one of them by a small woman half their size. A second attack. Chapter 14. A second attack. Waiting for another weekend to start, 6 mages were resting with the groundskeeper, Hagrid. The half-giant enjoyed the company as he delivered a steady stream of biscuits and tea. Quote, "What will you 6 be doing after the war?" "Thor's going home to spend time with his family. We are staying here. A few of us have an eye on someone." "Speak for yourself, Osiris. You were completely obvious with the drooling over Snape." Automatically correcting his friends, Severus. The twins snickered. "We know. It's always Severus this and Severus that. We still say tell the man." Emerald eyes turned deadly. "Very funny, twins. And that's not possible. He doesn't really believe I could possibly be interested. Though his reactions to flirting are charming to watch." Lucas snorted, almost choking on his drink. The elf couldn't quite hold back his laughter. "Charming. I swear the man would hex you if it didn't mean having a deranged headmaster on his case," says the blonde who is eyeing a child. "Hey, he is not a child. I simply refuse to do anything to him until after he graduates." Isis immediately perked up. "Does this mean I win?" Hagrid frowned, confused at his newfound friends. "What?" Osiris explained. "Lucas said that he wouldn't find anyone desirable in the magical world suitable for a Lithurian elf. But it seems his heart and nose says otherwise. He found a desirable mate here at Hogwarts. Though why he had to choose the spoiled, rich, blonde brat is beyond me." Stealing the war mage's words, says the raven who is eyeing a bastard. Isis spewed her tea across the table, choking a little on the action. "Guys." Osiris turned bright red. "He is not a bastard, just sarcastic and rude. I'd rather have that than knowing my mate has his father on the wrong side of the war, whom you need to go through." Quote. The twins suddenly gasped, sitting up straight as the 2 arguing mages failed to notice. "Doesn't matter. Your mate was one already even before you had to him saved from a deadly beating. I just happened to find the blonde appealing and refreshing, especially the scent of spice." Eyeing the twins carefully, Thor placed his comment. "I'd say good pick to the both of you. I know how you both love a good argument and someone not to back down. The question is, can you win them over? Especially you, Osiris, when you reveal the truth." "I can only hope." The twins quickly interrupted the fun, desperate to gain their friend's attention. Guys, we've got a problem. The seers received another vision from your connection, Osiris. A second attack will be here on the school's ground. They're coming from the forest in hopes of a secret attack." Hagrid flew to his feet. "What will we do?" "Hagrid, run inside and alert the staff. We'll try holding them off." Osiris waited for the large man to lumber off before spouting out orders. "Twins and Isis, see about using the Forbidden Forest against them. Thor and Lucas, a quick shield on all sides of the castle. I want any and all surprises to only come through the forest. This way we will be able to defend easily." 6 figures swiftly blended into the shadows, waiting for the supposed surprise attack. Through constant training, they were able to keep a part of their minds on holding fort while calling forth their expertise. 6 hands glowed brightly as the air became heavy with the feel of powerful magic. Isis simply stepped further from her teammates. As part of the demon bloodline, her bloodlust to fight was strong and usually uncontrollable. Her friends understood, especially when she suddenly went flying forward at nothing, tearing the shadows apart with her bare hands. Gracefully, each mage quickly met several Death Eaters. Osiris refused to use his magic just yet as he tried his best in evading the flying hexes. He knew the Death Eaters mainly used their wands and magic to fight. They were less likely to know how to fight against specially spelled weapons. Slashing a wickedly curved sword downwards, Osiris sliced through one Death Eater's protective shield. Smiling evilly at the downed figure, he merely danced away for the next one. A glance revealed the twins enjoying their time. Both sisters were holding hands, calmly entwining their magic as one. With this power they commanded the usually rebelling forest to attack. Shadowy creatures flew from trees and corners, tripping or shredding the enemy. Emerald glowing eyes glinted with amusement as the hexes and curses did nothing to stop them, especially the attacking trees and plants. Thor chuckled as he recognized the Dar-Kur shadows as various creatures of the night. Uncaring to their defense, Thor ripped through any enemy dumb enough to try and get by. Calling upon the elements to help him, Thor enjoyed standing to Nay sighed as lightning seemed to rain down on unsuspecting victims. Unlike his friends, Lucas simply waited at the edge of the forest. He had already pulled various silver weapons into place along the forest edges to aid in his help and closing off any entrances out the forest. He was a strong fighter, but they needed someone to catch the renegades that were able to get through the first defense. Shish! Arp hearing alerted him to the rushing feet. Blue eyes turned to see the headmaster being followed by various professors and Aurors. Smiling, he stood to one side, allowing them the only unprotected entrance. Company coming through. That's good. Voldemort's little warriors are starting to come in more numbers. The man's insane. He's forcing his numbers to fall drastically with this attack. Who in the Queen's name would dare putting his entire force for one attack? She-Demon does not appreciate that, Thor. She simply enjoys seeing who turned against her. She's absolutely giddy with knowledge, and it makes me shudder to know this. Ouch! Isis never answered the mental scream. She had just been distracting at the feeling of losing control. Lavender eyes widened in fear. Her dominating will was failing to help her. She could feel the slight tingling of her true form when someone sent a very painful hex her way. A single hand braced her side as she tried to fight the change and to defend herself. But the distraction of a dominant creature and her warm spilling blood from the hexed wound wouldn't allow her to fight. Deep within the forest, waiting for his chance, the Dark Lord, Voldemort, watched the struggling woman. His children had proven their loyalty by sending owls to their parents about the new professor. He had learned that the rare fallen angel had destructive powers. The Hildren had also learned that war mage Isis was of demon blood, trained in deadly arts of combat, creative torturing, and all high levels of pure dark magic, especially demonic. Voldemort had planned this attack in hopes of gaining a new pet. And now he could almost believe she was his Isis. Osiris struggled to reach the demon's side. Green eyes could see his friend in pain. He knew something was wrong when she failed to answer his call. Isis tried to fight back, but despite the continuous failing she was able to force up a small protective shield from advancing enemies. A shudder of dread made her instincts flare in disarray. She knew her mate was here, for her body was changing rapidly into its submissive state, but there was a dread of pure evil enveloping her senses. This evil was delighting her queen and scaring her. She had just found the taste of She-Demon's power in the man Isis was sworn to defeat. Get to Isis. She's fallen into her submissive state. Osiris. He's here. Osiris swore loudly as he began to realize that Voldemort had arrived. This was not good. With Isis in her current state and no knowledge of who her mate was, Voldemort could possibly control her, and the Wizardry world would definitely fall if She-Demon did not have the demon woman killed. Get to her now. Glowing red eyes watched as his followers edged their way closer to the fallen woman, prostrated on her knees, head bowed. He could see the bleeding ragged wound on her side. The power she had bleed in her fighting and shielding made him excited to control it. Black wings fell forward in an atom. PT to shield Isis as her empty mind waited for her claiming. Sightless lavender eyes glowed in anticipation as the battle grew in desperation. Her magical shield was beginning to fail without her dominant will. Thor, we need a light show. The deadlier, the better. What about the others? They aren't protective from my elements. Twins and Lucas, form a quick barrier. You have 1 minute. 3 voices called back as one. Only need 1 second. Albus started as silvery shadows began to wrap around him and his fellow allies. Confused, he quickly glanced about, finally seeing the fallen Isis. Understanding, old blue eyes twinkled in delight as sudden bright flashes of light streaked through the forest. Thor stood still, calling all his energy into a deadly lightning shower. His eyes began glowing brightly with power as the bolts flared on contact, surrounding his fallen teammate. A small part of his mind could feel Osiris sneaking forward among the dark shadows. A sudden childish feeling used him to smirk as he called forth every possible element to lend their power into the shower. Voldemort cried out in anger as several white-hot streaks slammed painfully into his body. Not one of his followers were able to grab the woman without screaming in pain from the deadly shower. Growling loudly, he had no choice but to flee. He would take his anger out on the failed Death Eaters, who quickly followed their leader in fleeing. "We're good, Thor." Osiris hurried to his friend's side. "Isis." Albus appeared at his side moments later. "How is she, War Mage?" "Not good. She's in her submissive state. Her mate was here." Green eyes glanced about to see the fleeing enemy, and still here since the enemy have already disappeared. "She's also wounded." "Who's the mate?" Osiris glared at the highly energetic vampire. "What? I had an overload of power for that light show." Heavily sighing with a shake of his head, "Take the twins. Lucas and I will take Isis to the infirmary. She should be fine. You need to lose some of that power before it builds up like last time." The vampire snorted. "Don't worry, boss." Thor grinned at the darkening of a deadly, icy, green glare. "I promise I won't destroy the castle or its grounds like before." "Don't ask." Lucas saw the questioning looks as he helped push back the large wings. Osiris carefully lifted the demon, knowing her wings would be protected by Lucas. Madame Pomfrey shrieked at the sight of injured patients. "I swear no one takes care of themselves." Several flushed in embarrassment. "Don't worry, Madame Pomfrey. I simply need the strongest healing potion you have. I can't lay Isis down with her wings in the way." "Oh, the poor dear. What happened to her?" Her mate appeared during the battle, distracting her. "She had no choice but to change forms and was attacked by a hex. She won't change back until her mate says." Madame Pomfrey clucked her tongue as she handed over a small vial before turning to her other patients. Lou Saws carefully cleaned the wound with a warm cloth, spelled by a thoughtful headmaster. Isis never flinched as her wound was cleaned, doused with a potion, and healed. "Now what do we do? She's catatonic." Osiris opened his mouth to speak when a steady low growl suddenly grew in volume. Remus." Sirius jumped at the vibrating sound from his mate. He could see the wolf fighting to be free to claim a submissive. You guys should move far away. The wolf doesn't look too happy. And we found a winner." Lucas could barely contain the childish laughter as Osiris glared at him, darkly. "Great. As if the mangy mutt wasn't enough for the werewolf. Hopefully, she'll be able to muzzle the mutt. I resent that, Snape." Sirius was ready to step forward, even as the growls grew louder and deeper. Guys." Lucas was steadily moving backwards, suddenly not caring he was a mage when dealing with werewolves and their mates. "I think it's safe to say we can leave now." The claims. Chapter 15. The claims. Remus could feel the wolf threatening to break free as an intoxicating scent of smoky pine needles warped his senses. He could feel his throat vibrating with a warning growl as Awny eyes glared at the invading figures. His other mate was trying to push the others aside, succeeding as everyone began moving away from the catatonic female. Sirius stared wide-eyed at his mate and a rough hand grasped one of his in a painful hold, yanking him towards Isis. With a growl, Remus commanded his submissive, "Follow." Dragging his mate out the hospital wing, Remus trailed his way to his rooms. Waiting to growl out the password to his rooms, Remus practically threw his mate inside and dragged in a second mate. "She's ours." Drunken laughter followed the comment. "Leaves the twins and Thor out. They already expressed a no desirable mate. Well, at least the twins do." "Shut it, Lucas, or else you'll be waking up at the bottom of a lake covered in seaweed." Lucas fell from his perch in uncontrollable laughter. Osiris peered over the couch's arm to look, might do him some good. The twins snickered, "It would do the both of you good." You know full well drinking wine made by demons is not safe. But it's very tasty. Oh, stop whining, Lucas. Osiris was the next to fall to uncontrollable laughter. I think they've lost it, girls. It's your fault, Thor. Said vampire held up his hands in surrender. What did I do? For every step by the advancing twins, he stepped back. You just had to open a case of demon spirits. Didn't you? Hey, those two could use a boost. Isis found herself with a mate. Well too. They have yet to make their move. What's that supposed to mean, Thor? Two drunken voices called from the floor, still trembling with laughter. Think about it, Lucas. You and Osiris have been eyeing those two males since we arrived. Least I've liked my longer. But the vision of two blondes is quite satisfying. Osiris. The war mage snickered at the four staring at him. Even hidden in the shadows, two invading figures fought to keep their laughter in check. What? I didn't fully describe the fantasy. Just stated it. Emerald eyes pinned a blushing elf. What do you see in the prat? He sees a spoiled, rich, sarcastically rude blonde. I still swear Lucas can only attract blondes. Shut it. A wobbly thrown pillow collided with Thor's smirking face. I'm not the only one. Osiris just had to be attracted to a rude, unmannered, sarcastic bastard. Subject change. Everyone laughed at the unbalanced leader. What do we know? But none would argue once the male tried to stay within a business attire, even if he was still wobbly from drinking. Guess we hit too close to home. But it seems someone found out their little heir won't join. We've been told that your lovely enemy has sent orders to change the mind of one Draco Malfoy. He's not lovely or mine. Neither is Malfoy. Osiris pouted, even though Voldemort was technically his enemy. Snickering, Lucas piped up. Hopefully, he'd be mine in that case. But he does have Ileana on his side. She will do what she can. We should keep an eye on him. Meaning you will. But he's not the only one. Severus Snape is back to being number one on the hit list. He's to be taken dead or alive to Voldemort. Sadistic bastard. Was that for the scaly one or the potion master? Quote, Severus always was a bastard ever since I can remember. He's already survived one beating for being a traitor. Let's just hope he'll accept the help. From the shadows, two figures glanced at each oath. With evil smirks before gliding forward, minds whirling with what they had heard. Lucas and Osiris yelped in surprise, falling to the floor, once again, in a drunken tumble, drinking on a school night, professors. Both males groaned at the cheerful tone. Hello. Their friends snickered as they rose to their feet. We'll bid you, gentlemen, a good night. Thor still has some energy to release. And we'd like to communicate with the council. No, but the warning came too late as three friends swept away. I hate it when they do that. The two Slytherins shared a look while faced with a drunken pair. What were you six talking about? Eyes widened at the question. Two pairs of hands dragged the drunken pair from the floor. Let's go. Where we going now? Unlike what you possibly think. I do not share my quarters with everybody. Draco's head boy, Silver Mage Lucas will be staying with him, while you, War Mage Osiris, will stay here for now. With those final words, the two Jess gave into their drunken darkness willingly. Neither wanted to remain awake, since both had a nasty habit of spilling things. But it was a weakness, drinking demon spirits, that both mages thoroughly enjoyed. Just not the consequences later. Awakening. Chapter 16. Awakening. Stretching languidly, Remus glanced to his side at the feeling of a soft body. Tawny eyes glinted in possessiveness at the sight of a sleeping Isis. Curled between two bodies, he looked over her to see an open-mouthed, snoring Sirius. Quietly, he leaned down to the sleeping woman, nuzzling the vulnerable throat on his claiming mark. Feral eyes caught the second bite mark on her right shoulder. Isis softly moved beneath the slow touch. Sirius mumbled as the moving forced him awake. Morning, love. Still nuzzling against her throat. Morning. Sirius. Sleep well. Funny. Love, funny. A large yawn broke through. Breakfast. A low murmur called out. Hungry. Both males chuckled at the lazily stretching female. Glad we had her hide those blasted wings. Don't fancy getting hit in the face with them this early. Summon a house elf. Sirius, since you're out of bed and all. The dark glare sent Remus into a tumble of laughter. Upon sobering from the fit he turned to their submissive partner. Ours. She lightly moaned beneath the whispers fanning against the mating mark. We love you like this, but we still need the old Isis as well. Sirius grinned just before diving back into bed. Could always have a submissive in our rooms. She can remain dominant outside. Sleepy lavender eyes blinked in response as Isis stared up at both males. Twin growls swept the sleep away when both males dove forward, each desperate for another taste. As the awakened mates, breakfast cooled, a dark-haired potion master laid in wait, patiently, for his own bed mate to awaken, and his diligence was paid off when a pained moan announced Osiris rising. Lucas, guys. Emerald eyes sleepily blinked open when a commanding husky tone caused him to freeze. I believe your friends have spent the night outside my rooms. I would still like to know how you entered a warded and password-protected area. Snape, say. Varys smirked at the frightened question. Pressing closer to half-naked war mage, Snape now. From what we heard last night it was Severus and few other choice words. Osiris whimpered at the deep purring and loosely roaming hands. I did wonder about a few things. Trying desperately to remain calm, losing that battle with the tensing of his body, the twins were able to manipulate the wards. The carved serpent was only too happy to help. We needed a place to hide. Parseltongue. Severus frowned. He knew only 2 people with that gift. But the small nod beneath him resolved that thought. Ling that puzzle piece away with the others for later thinking. He continued to torment the mage. What about the conversation? Osiris tensed even more, refusing to speak. He had never thought the man could be more evil than that moment. Severus fully enjoyed the frustrated sounds, especially when he pulled away from a warm bed and a wanting body. Breakfast, war mage. Lucas, himself, groaned oodly as he stumbled from a strange room. His mind flashed back to what had just happened. Warm and slightly fuzzy, Lucas had rolled over in a soft slippery bed to hit a firm obstacle. Fuzzy vision eared with each blink as he took in stock of a lounging figure at his side. Wah, Osiris. A chuckle made the elf jerk back. I believe you and war mage Osiris were left in our care. He's in good hands, I assure you. Icy blue eyes widened in recognition. Draco. The blonde Slytherin towered over the elf. Trapping the elfin mage between straddling arms and legs, an evil smirk graced the aristocratic features. You seem quite recovered from a night of drinking, especially the drunken ramblings. Lucas had the grace to blush as he struggled to remember half the things he had said. Draco refused to stop just yet. My head of house and I seem to love what you had said, though I'm sure you all were just warming up. The others. Almost a whisper, Lucas tried to speak louder but the feeling and image of the male above him wouldn't allow it. He tried to clear his throat when Draco suddenly sat up. Instead of clearing his throat he gave a low growl. Draco smirked. He carefully shifted positions every few moments, watching those icy blue eyes flutter close in attempt of gaining control. Leaning close to the elf's ear, he lowered his voice. Hungry. Eyes flew open as Lucas stared up at an innocently smiling Draco. His mouth opened and closed in a failed attempt to speak. He could only draw out small squeaks of frustration, which amused the sitting blonde even more. Hands clutched at the slippery sheets in vain. Draco hummed softly as he dragged his body from its comfortable perch, wrenching a low groan of protest from his chosen target. I'm sure breakfast is being served. He then sauntered away, leaving a very frustrated elf behind. Lucas shook his head. He could only hope Osiris was having a better morning than him. Then again, maybe not. Lucas just caught sight of SNIC, carrying mages and one scowling war mage a few meters ahead of him as they waited. Final Vision. Chapter 17. Final Vision. Albus smiled joyfully at the sight of 2 very frustrated and angered mages, while 2 Slytherins were wearing smug smiles. Good morning, you 4. 2 twin snarls greeted him as a smug Draco flopped gracefully into his seat, surrounded by his friends. Severus simply sneered at anyone trying to ask him anything. Onyx eyes narrowed at the bounding entrance of Sirius Black and steady pace of Remus Lupin. Oh great, now we must deal with an over-hyperactive mangy mutt. Sirius did the unexpected. He threw his arms about the potion master, shocking everyone, who all believed that the animagus would be hexed shortly. Love you too, Severus. Said man sat completely still. unknowing what to do with a clinging mud at first. Black, if you don't let go of me this instant, you will find yourself becoming the second woman in your relationship and unable to do a thing. The animagus gulped as he eased away from a deadly serious potion master, all the while the entire school fell into uncontrollable laughter. Never do that again. From the great hall's doors, Isis watched the events unfolding when a searing pain flared through her body. Swiftly, she fled the castle, navigating her way towards the shadowy forbidden forest. Isis, come, Isis, Isis. She knew that soft commanding voice. Her queen was beckoning her close. Her body instinctively forced itself into a relaxing position as her mind was swiftly invading with visions. Fuzzy figures fought in earnest, each falling only to be replaced by more. Red eyes flared with hate and anger as they faced emerald eyes flaring with revenge. Wands connecting as one. The dome of shimmering light encased the struggling two. From behind one of the struggling fighters a small diamond-shaped stone drifted closer. The dark glimmering threads of demonic magic lash out in the form of angry vines as three bodies were wrapped in its demonic grasp. Isis, my child, open your hands. Receive my gift. With eyes still closed and body relaxed, Isis could feel someone pressing a small warm object into her cupped palms. Come home. Come home. Isis, come home. With a frightened gasp Isis jerked awake, hot tears flowing freely down her pale face. She shivered in fright. Never has she had such a command to come home. And now she could still feel the grasp of desire, of wanting, of power. Still sobbing, she flew to her feet in haste to reach her friends. She needed warmth to shed this feeling of eternal cold. Osiris. Osiris jerked in surprise, flying to his feet. All eyes flashed his way. Pale features were drawn tightly in concern. War Mage Osiris. She's here. The great hall's door burst open as a blur of purple flew inside. Ears could hear the harsh sobbing. 5 figures rushed from their various seats to her side. Isis collapsed into their gentle hands, sobbing, her hands tightly grasping something, causing small trickles of blood. Come, quote. Albus watched them leave before turning his attention to the students. Students, you will be required to head to class as usual. You will leave the mages be. Reluctantly, the children swarmed away. Professors, at the first chance, you may stop by the infirmary. The headmaster and Mediwitch hurried down the corridors to see the mages. Sirius bounded AF. Tear them after seeing to a worried werewolf wanting to be at their mate's side. Shish, Isis, you're safe. Isis couldn't stop crying, nor would she release the hold on her hands. Sirius flew to her side. Her friends relinquished their hold on her. Isis immediately relaxed into the new arms, knowing their touch. Sirius. Hey, love, what's wrong? She won't tell us yet. But can you open her hands? Sirius looked down at the cupped hands to see the trickle of blood. Let go, love, we need to wash off the blood. Shaking her head, can't. Needs the primer. Open them. I'm sure it's primed. Avender eyes peered up at the concerned mate. Slowly, he helped open her hands. What is it? It's she-demon's jewel. She wears this jewel with a few others in a glowing chain. When it is time to capture her enemies, she sends her death's messengers the amount of diamonds needed. They are used to capture and control the soul. In order to capture the soul, the stone must be within distance of the captive. When it is, the demonic magic will spill forth in tendrils and grasp the body. Then a second layer of magic will start pulling the soul into the stone. Since Isis has it, that means she must take it back to the queen. How would you get close enough to do that? Carefully, Sirius steered the injured hands towards Madame Pomfrey to heal. Isis buried her head into his neck, her voice muffled. We would need to be close. We would have to fight him face to face. But the prophecy says only my godson, Harry Potter, could defeat Voldemort. The mages snorted. We willingly put our lives on the line to fight our enemy. I hate this connection. 2 professors barged inside, entering upon the last statement from a muffled Isis. Remus immediately swept his mates into his embrace, nuzzling them. Severus watched with detached emotion. What connection? From what we figured of her actions in this, Osiris held up a small diamond. I'd say Isis received a painful vision from she-demon. This vision scared her, and to scare a demon is quite a feat. Remus stared at his shivering demonic mate. She has no fear. Isis kept her face buried. We are demons from a hellish realm. Our world is brutal, full of torture. The things we can do and see are nothing compared to what others have been through or yet to see. If we fear anything, she-demon is the main cause. Rarely do we fear anything from our mates. Severus was intrigued. You fear nothing except this she. Emerald eyes widened at the chance of hearing Severus speaking a name he was forbidden. She-demon only granted few non-demons her name. If Severus spoke it, he could pay the price, and Osiris refused to see that happened. He took the first chance possible. Severus was cut off from his sentence when warm, insistent lips met his. Sirius snickered. If that's all it took to shut him up, I would have done that years ago. Or at least found someone willing. She-demon rarely grants non-demons a chance at her real name. Those forbidden must call her queen. She will resort to painful punishment for those who break her law. The punishment would be even worse with the idea of the last battle coming and the knowledge she will receive her traitor. Come, Isis. You are going to rest. Isis looked ready to argue, but one look from the werewolf forced the submission back into its place. The last battle will be soon. We have at least a day or two at best. The werewolf simply nodded at the other mages. Then a catatonic demon was pulled from the hospital wing by two eager mates. As they left, Lucas raised a brow at two still lip-locked adults. You think Osiris would like a room? The two kissing men jumped apart, light blushes gracing their features. Severus tried in vain to fight his as he icily glared at the war mage. The next time you wish to quiet me, simply say so. There was no need to stick your tongue down my throat. Albus chuckled at his younger professor, who swept from the room with robes flying. Got to ask him about that one day. A sneaky, manipulative mind whirled at the statement. More and more pieces were falling into place about war mage Osiris. He turned twinkling eyes onto the other mages. What exactly do you have planned? I suggest calling forth all your allies. Bring them here before tomorrow morning. Find a safe place for the children and someone to protect them. Just as a precaution, I don't believe the enemy will get far. Because Voldemort won't really be dead, I believe that the dark mark should still be in place. She-demon will be able to control the mark with his soul in her grasp. We can ask her permission for any innocent Death Eaters wanting to be free of the mark and have it removed. You know of this mark. Something nagged insistently in Albus' mind. But like those before him, especially one frazzled Hermione Granger, he could not place why he should know the answer. The magic was invoked by She-demon. It is demonic magic granted him. But for now Isis and I must be able to find Voldemort in the battle. All we need is for his followers to be distracted, not able to defend him in any way. We will take care of the Dark Lord. And before Albus could question the war mage further, the remaining mages swept away. Behind they left a very confused and concerned headmaster, still questioning his own mind. Last Attack. Chapter 18. Last Attack. Osiris wearily pulled himself from a comfortable bed, not ready to spend energy to verbally speak. Everyone awake yet? Too early. Want to sleep? Thor snickered as he leaned over the mumbling elf. Ah. Is someone dreaming a nice little dream? That's rude, Thor. Raja pulled away from waking her sister and whispered loudly, Draco. You can't come in here. At those words, Thor glared at the red-headed female, who simply stuck her tongue out in a childish moment. Lucas shot up in his bed, frantically looking around as his friends howled with laughter. That wasn't very funny. Isis chose that moment to saunter inside. Brows raised in question. What isn't very funny? Raja lent a hand to her twin, pulling the other to her feet. Osiris was shouting in our heads to wake up. Lucas wouldn't budge, said something about wanting to sleep. Thor asked what he was dreaming and I might have said something about Draco. Isis covered her mouth in hopes of stifling her laughter when an icy glare was tossed her way. Come on. Still snickering, she tried to calm down to speak. Albus, the headmaster wants us. It's not even daylight out. The elf was shocked at being awake this early. We're going. Thor and Osiris dragged their whining friend out the door. Albus waited for their arrival, announced by the frantic shouting. I said stop. No more, please. Several Professor L. ooked at each other in confusion when the twins floated through the door, laughing. Just behind her they could hear the loud singing, a language they did not know. Golden eyes, wet with tears of laughter, looked at the confusion. The guys are trying to wake up Lucas, who refuses to rise this early. Lithurian elves never were morning people. The song's in Elfish and the guys are screwing up on purpose. Isis grinned as she opened the door with a flourish. May I present our bass section, Mages Osiris and Thor. Then our lovely song mistress, Mage Lucas. Said Mage lashed out with a deadly icy glare on the demon. I hate you, Isis. I really hate you. Nice to see that some people are having fun on this oh so joyous day, but we do need to prepare for a battle, children. 6 pair of eyes flew towards a very unhappy Severus Snape. Said potion master was clutching his left forearm in pain, trying desperately to keep his face emotion free. Isis swiftly jumped to his side, shoving the hand away and the sleeve aside. Gripping his left arm tightly, she laid the small diamond against the mark, mind connecting with her queen. Softly, the words flowed from her lips, Ishne Mullora. Ishne Mullora. The sounds continued as the diamond glowed, drawing the pain into its core. Eyes watched as Severus began to relax slowly. Black shimmering tendrils wrapped around the marked arm, a few slithering over the dark mark. Once Severus was completely boneless, one tendril forced its way beneath the skin to ease the strong link from man to Dark Lord. Severus screamed, trying to jerk away from the painful touch. Osiris turned from the scene to his old headmaster. Albus, are your followers for the light here? My team and I must be ready. We cannot help without knowing who's with us or against us. Your talking strategy. Severus is in pain from one of your own, Minerva huffed, enraged at the calm tone and looks of the mages. Isis is trying to help him. She's giving him a chance to survive. She demon may not wait to destroy his followers. But I must know this answer. They will be here shortly. We have the Aurors, Hogwarts professors, several older students, many of the light creatures at our side, a few giants. And one giant spider in the Forbidden Forest. It's all who we could recruit before Voldemort got to them. So the vampires, werewolves, and dementors are on his side. I assume the others have gone into hiding. Albus nodded. We've begun our own recruiting. The twins will use their gifts to aid us. Thor and Lucas will be providing help against the vampires and werewolves. Though I must stress that Remus will stay far from them. Lucas will be using silver and I won't have an angered demon on my hands because her mate was injured by us. And Lucas will watch where he's drawing the silver. The tired voice drew everyone's attention to a panting Severus and Isis. Won't you, Lucas? Said Elf turned almost white at the deadly calm tone. Yeah. I happen to Ove being alive and far away from torture devices, thank you. What now, War Mage Osiris? I suggest, Albus, you call all your allies to Hogwarts. Do whatever it takes to distract the enemy. Isis and I cannot control the diamond. Ourselves, Voldemort, and dark forces. Osiris turned to his team. Let's go. We need to keep the sides and back of the castle safe and clear. I refuse to turn this into another Ambriac collision. Thor and Lucas shuddered, though Lucas whimpered at the name. You just had to say that, didn't you? The bickering three walked away, as the female side of the team groaned. Osiris knows Lucas fears those bloody halflings. Who ever thought to take something as peaceful as a hobbit and breed them with tortuous demonic beasts to become almost unstoppable ravenous headhunters or beyond clinically insane? Quote, not one of the 6 saw the suddenly pale and shaken professors in their wake. Nor did Isis and Osiris see the deadly battle behind them later that day. They were too intent on their target. Voldemort had just entered the fray of battle, surrounded by 6 Dementors. Moving with his deadly guards, the Dark Lord had begun to believe the war was his. Raja, we need a quick diversion. We've got 6 Dementors around our target. One lovely giant Patronus coming up. And may I remind you that I am simply borrowing the man's charm. Whose? Before Raja could answer her leader, she directed a huge Hungarian dragon Patronus to the 6 guarding Dementors. Let me guess, Severus. She mentally laughed at the sarcasm. She felt the sighing comment of, leave it to say, Varys to invoke a creature as bad-tempered as him. Ready, Isis. I will be, if I can get the thing behind him first. Can you? Don't finish. Osiris dove forward, tossing a slim-handled dagger towards Voldemort as the dragon tore through the hissing Dementors, who left their posts. Voldemort screamed in frustration and anger when his Dementors fled their positions. In his vulnerable state, something slammed painfully into his left side. What in Salazar's name? One hand pulled a serpent-carved dagger free, one side of him appreciated the design while the other wondered. Guess it is true. Tom. Riddle does bleed like any other half-blood. That got his attention, Osiris. Be ready. A very angered Dark Lord turned his wand on the war mage. Red eyes flared in pure fury at the sight of a smug Osiris. You. Yes, me, but you always wished it was never me. Or at least you wished to always kill me once and be done with it, right Riddle? Who are to mock me? I am Lord Voldemort. Mocking the man, who are you to ask me? I am War Mage Osiris, Death's messenger. And I have a message for you from the fair she-demon. You broke the contract and for that your soul is hers. Voldemort raised his wand higher. A curse ready to spill forward to end the life of the mage. But something grabbed him from behind. What? Welcome to hell, Lord Voldemort. Emerald eyes watched as the black tendrils of demonic magic flowed forward for its target. The man caught inside them struggled, screaming as more magic tendrils swarmed inside his body, searching for its prize. Before you go, Riddle, I have a secret. Osiris stepped closer, allowing the tendrils to grab him in response. I am Harry Potter. Red eyes widened in horror as he stared at the male claiming to be Harry Potter. Just before his soul was taken, Voldemort felt the connection he always had with the Potter boy just as the famous scar reappeared on the man's face. It was then Voldemort realized that he had lost to his enemy once again. The demonic magic lashed out in power as the stone sucked the soul inside. Isis and Osiris flew back several feet. Osiris felt his body slam painfully onto the ground, in the middle of the battle fray. A sudden mental scream caused him to look for Isis. Isis. Along with his screaming, the Death Eaters fell as one, clutching their forearms in pain. The pained screams echoed through the early morning. With them unable to fight back, the light had no problems defeating the remaining enemy. Isis. This isn't funny. Remus jerked at the calling of his mate's name. Tawny eyes looked for the caller as well as his other mate. Serious. Osiris raced for the last spot they had stood, search for Isis. We had a backlash of power and her mental link was shut down. But he knew that they would not find Isis. No matter how hard they searched, something said she had gone home. Coming home. Chapter 19. Coming home. Welcome home, my child. Groaning, Isis forced her body to listen. The pain was intense but she would overcome it. Turning blank lavender eyes to the soft hissing tone, she fell to one knee. My lady, I have brought the gift you have asked for. War Mage Osiris and I have fulfilled our part of the assignment. In one hand, Isis held out the glowing diamond. A tiny clawed hand reached out to grasp it. Hissing softly, the regal demon ruler looked at her enemy, Tom Marvolo Riddle. You are no longer Lord Voldemort or the Dark Lord. Your reign has ended for eternity. Never shall you rise from my depths of hell. Never shall your followers ever worship you. Never will your name be feared. You no longer exist. Those who try to fight in your name have fallen and will always fall. I, she-demon Ishne Mullora, should be feared by you. Fiery eyes pinned the trembling child before her. The cold hissing tone melted in warmth. My sweet rare fallen angel. My lovely child, you have not forgotten your past. You have not forsaken your present. What is your wish from me, sweet angel? In reverence to the demon ruler, Isis had always reverted to her true form. Unlike the submission her mate required, she-demon allowed a small part of her submissive creatures their minds in her audience. Wrapping the large wings about her frame, my lady, I ask for nothing. I am but your servant. A clawed hand waved in a careless gesture when a deep voice called out, Isis. The demon angel turned in surprise. Wings spread wide. Osiris. In full uniform and battle gear, the imposing black-caped war mage carefully glided forward. Upon reaching her side, Osiris dropped to his knees. His head bowed. My lady. You called for me. You both have served me well this day. I had expected to see this man by the solstice. You were months early. For this I shall grant you one wish each. Mages knew having a wish granted by she-demon were rare and almost impossible to gain. They had many things they would love to have, especially Osiris. Isis fell back to her knees, bowing her head in respect to her ruler, my lady. I beg of you to allow me the chance to remain as your left hand. I still wish to serve as I live." Osiris followed Isis' lead, head also bowed deeply in respect, his voice as low and calm, "My lady. We both wish to remain your death's messengers. To remain at your side as we believe in aiding your cause, whichever it may be." She-demon gracefully stood, her earring gown flowing against invisible air currents. Producing a single thread of magic, she hung the diamond near her throne. Then she laid both hands on their shoulders. Rarely did she give out wishes to grant. Even rarer for someone to decline. Even with her fangs, her smile was warm. "My children, you have done me great justice against my enemy. For this I shall grant you something. War Mage Osiris, should you gain the affection of the one you hunt, he has my permission to say my name without fear. I do wish to meet this young man of yours soon. That is my wish. Thank you, my lady. He is called Severus Snape, Potion Master at Hogwarts. Very good, my child. I shall send with you a bag of the rarest ingredients to present as a bridle to my right hand. I will not lose my right hand to someone not willing to understand what you are. I even grant his access to his one dream to be free. Free of a certain burden I believe he still carries upon himself." Grateful, Osiris stepped away, head still bowed, as he waited for his friend, inwardly cheering that Severus would never have to bear Voldemort's mark. "My child, a rare demon indeed, and a war mage," Isis Ishne Mullor Sentis. Issy smiled as her ruler acknowledged her parentage by saying her full name, the name she shared with her mother. "I grant to you the power over your mate's transformation. I believe he was a werewolf once a month. With your new gift he will never worry again. He will become, I believe the humans call them, animagus." She glanced at Osiris, who nodded, "but he will always take the form of a werewolf." "Thank you, my lady. You are my only child of my womb, and as your ruler I must insist on your returning home once a month. Preferably with your mates. They must know who you are and who you will become." She-demon gracefully settled on her throne, quickly falling back into her role of a harsh demon queen. "I will return you now. But your returning will be quite painful. Your bodies have been found." Both mages felt a painful tugging at their navels, mouths fell open in a silent scream at the wash of hot, spiking pain. Ears hearing the final hissing of icy laughter. "You, my dear Riddle, welcome to your new home. Welcome to my world, the true evil, the true darkness." Secrets Revealed. Chapter 20a. Secrets Revealed. Shattering screams of pain echoed through the castle walls, as two unconscious figures thrashed on the beds. Several hands tried to hold them in place, to stop further movements. Isis, Osiris. Neither mage would answer as the screaming continuing. Madame Pomfrey was at a loss. "I can't find anything wrong. There is nothing wrong. Queen has sent them back. This is the pain of their bodies reconnecting with their spirits after being in a hellish realm. There's nothing to stop this pain until the connection is fulfilled," the twins quickly explained. The screaming slowly died to a whimper as Osiris trembled in the afterwash of pain. Isis simply fainted from the shock. Bleary emerald eyes fluttered, trying to focus. "Isis, she's here, war mage. She's sleeping, fainted from the shock." "Oh, yeah," She-demon said it would hurt. "Remind me to never do that again." Lucas snickered, gently holding his new blonde mate close, who finally felt free to be himself since his father's imprisonment. The elf's voice was muffled from the fact he hid his face in the warm pale throat of his mate. "You always say to remind you, and you always go." Osiris groaned as he tried to pull an exhausted body into a sitting position. "Just as well. She-demon granted us our only wishes. Though we really never chose." The twins jumped in excitement. "What she grant? Tell us. We're dying to know." Severus snorted. "Says the ones who are already dead." Thor rolled his eyes. "They're not really dead. Just floating spirits. I'm truly dead, well undead." Onyx's eyes glared at the vampire for daring to correct him. Thor simply ignored the gaze. "Do tell. I was granted to Al. Loma made her name, but he must appear in her presence soon. He was also given a gift from her in the removal of something disfiguring, despite the connection already being broken earlier." At that moment, Severus silently, and unnoticed, touched his now bare left forearm. Just before he came to the infirmary with the other professors, his arm had flared with sudden pain and then dully throbbed as he watched the dark mark fade. Unsure of what he felt, Isis began to moan in pain, just waking to hear her friends' voices, adding her part to the conversation in which she heard the last part, interrupting the potion master's thoughts. I get to control my mate's transformation. Once a month I must return home with my mates so they may learn more of my world. But my mate may never become a true werewolf. That part has now become an animagus. For once in his life, Remus felt hope. This was the chance he had always wanted and just may receive. Sirius dragged the man into a tight embrace. Your dream, Remus. Can I have water? My throat's on fire. Two males jumped at her request as Isis stretched out tensed muscles. Thank you. Grateful for the cold drink, Isis turned to her bedridden friend. Determined to finally clear the hidden secrets. There's more. Tell them, Osiris. Green eyes lowered in regret as his voice fell short of a whisper. You won't believe this, but Harry Potter is not dead. Sirius immediately pounced. You know my godson. Where is he? How is he? Please, tell me. I haven't heard from him in 2 years. The tearful voice broke the mage's heart as the others waited with bated breath. It's been longer than that, Sirius. At the end of his 4th year, Harry Potter was beaten within an inch of his life by his uncle, all because an owl interrupted an important meal. A small group called the Council had sent out 2 people to retrieve him upon receiving the vision of his beating. Taking everything he owned, the 2 saviors disappeared with Harry to their world. There, 3 elves did what they could to heal the boy. At first they had to call in a spirit guide to break the connection from the boy's scar and the Dark Lord. It was the only way to save him. The darkness inside the boy was overriding his will to live. Once the connection broke, a seer took the chance to connect with this darkness. This seer would live with the visions a child had been forced to dream, to see. From this seer we learned various attacks and plans. Refusing to look up, Osiris pushed on through the shocked silence. After at least 2 weeks with the elves, Harry Potter was given a mentor. A mentor by the name of Lexi, a centaur. In this new world, in which he learned that all types of creatures only lived, Harry was the first human to enter. For 10 years, Harry was pushed into training. He trained hard to become a war mage, as well as the right hand to she-demon. At his graduation rites he was given a new name and a mission. Upon his leaving, Harry found his new friends, who had trained with him those long years, becoming his teammates. And that group came to Hogwarts. Stunned, Sirius could barely, forgetting in that moment the anger at his godson's relatives. What are you trying to say? He wasn't sure, but he could swear the mage was telling him that Osiris was his godson. Emerald eyes looked his godfather in the eye. I am Harry Potter. I'm almost 25 years old. I have been gone for 10 years their time and 2 years your time. I had trained hard to become War Mage Osiris, Death's messenger. And I have never regretted those years, only the time I could never be here to stop all those who died. No one could say anything but gape openly in shock, anger, and relief. Though he inwardly cringed at the look of hatred and anger on Severus' face. Isis snorted. Stop those who died. Osiris, I swear I was going to strangle you back then. You gave me the most difficult time of my life. Do you know how easy it is to watch after a man hell-bent on wanting to throw his life away? Knowing he was playing both sides as a spy. Sorry. Isis was glad she couldn't move too much or else she would be strangling her friend for the hardship he gave her. That man is the most stubborn creature I have ever met. That man. You wouldn't be talking about Professor Snape. Draco was the only one willing to say anything since Osiris made his confession. He wasn't too comfortable with the heavy silence or the looks the mages were receiving, especially Lucas. Yes, I am. Osiris wouldn't settle with a mere lookout. Oh no. He wanted that man watched and helped at every turn. That bloody loyalty drove me insane. Almost suicidal. I was the man's guardian angel, so to speak. I was the one who made sure Severus always made it home or that someone met him when he couldn't stay awake. I would take most of the pain from the small tortures. That night he was betrayed, I marked his betrayer, for later use to Osiris, and forced the giant snake to chase that cowardly rat in the way of the last few curses that would have killed him, so he could escape. He suffered damaging beatings from everyone and more. The torture from his so-called lord was Nothing compared to allowing the followers, even the newly marked, to practice hexes and spells on him. I had sort of invaded his mind, giving him my energy so he was able to run, though I'm sure he hated that. I had the twins make the forest he ran through more dangerous for his followers. I wasn't going to let him go back. Thor and Lucas manipulated the wards, making them closer than they should have been. I believe they were 10 feet from their original positions. I also had Ileana speak to Fox to make the headmaster worry about his charge. Because of this feeling, Severus was met by concerned friends. I was weak for weeks after that. I had used most of my energy to help him escape and heal his most fatal wounds, as well as the few I knew he wouldn't want anyone to know about. Eris paled as his fatal night was relived to everyone, fear overtaking anger, despite learning he had been taken by his nemesis son, Harry Potter. You should have left things be. With those poisonous words, he fled. I'm sorry, but her soft words fell on empty space. Facing the others, she quickly distracted them from hearing the man's sordid betrayal. Guess this would also be the best tea. Me to say that Harry Potter is also friends with the next ruler of hell. Long Talks. Chapter 20b Long Talks. Ahem. The clearing of a throat echoed through the sudden silence as Harry cringed at the very familiar tone. Hi guys. He had peered around stunned adults to see two very irate 17-year-old Gryffindors, Hermione Granger and Ronald Weasley. Everyone else had remained stunned. After hearing War Mage Osiris was really Harry Potter, spent 10 years in a New World training, came back to Hogwarts, deceived everyone, pursued one of the professors quite publicly before announcing his true identity. Defeated Voldemort for good, admitted to saving Severus Snape from a fatal night, and silently admitted to being good friends with an heiress to a demonic world. Sirius was the first to break the silence when he grabbed Harry into a large bear hug. His godson was moments from giving into honed instincts just before catching himself, allowing the breathless hug to continue. Oh Merlin, Harry. I've missed you. Upon releasing the young mage, he smacked the poor man upside the head. Ow. Harry rubbed the now sore spot, all the while glaring at his godfather. What was that for? That was for making us worry for nothing, young man. Sirius opened his mouth to berate further. But Harry had bowed his head in shame. I'm sorry, Sirius, but I couldn't just leave. They helped me at first and then I knew it was the best decision to make at the time. Remus really didn't care too much. The world was safe from a Dark Lord for now and Harry was back, explanations could wait. He pulled the young mage into a hug. We were worried about you, Harry. I'm glad you are back. Sirius swiftly joined the hug. Lucas watched with an amused look. He shared equal glances with his other friends. Then, abruptly, he shoved his mate from his lap to stand. Eyeing the irate teenagers in the back of the crowd, he decided to run. Well, I think my mate and I will let you catch up on lost time, my friend. Pulling the now stammering blonde Slytherin behind him, Lucas followed the hastily retreating teammates, who were also willing to abandon their leader to his glaring friends. Albus had then seen the irate Gryffindors. Knowing they had a few things to work out, well, my boy, I'm sure you'll stop by for tea in the morning to further discuss this. Also, Ms. Granger and Mr. Weasley, why were the ones who happened to find your bodies in the forest? Harry knew an order when he heard one, knowing he was in for a long overdue conversation with the older wizard. Blank emerald eyes simp. Lee watched the older wizard herd the other protesting professors out the door. Remus was quick to follow, grabbing Isis by her left wrist. You, Isis, are coming with us. We'd like to discuss this heiress deal. Turning to Harry, I hope to see you in the morning as well. We would like to continue this later. Sirius followed the rushing couple, though Isis threw back a helpless look when her mate had practically demanded the mage to see the angry wizards by next morning to fully be berated for his disappearance. Harry froze as he watched the approaching angry friends. He looked down as they began their tirades. Merlin, Harry, what were you thinking? Hermione's tirade went even further, and louder. Do you know what you have done to us? To me, do you even know how much trouble I have been in these past 2 years, Harry? Did you ever realize that I have caused enough trouble with all the professors for nothing? Ron stared wide-eyed as his girlfriend continued, we have cornered just about every professor more than once trying to find you. We even went as far as tricking Hagrid into giving us any information." Her voice lowered to a hiss. "All we got from most of them were buckets of lies made and delivered by the headmaster. Those who didn't lie simply shoved us aside." Again her voice began to raise. "I even went as far as calling Professor Dumbledore a liar every time we met or talked. We cornered Professor McGonagall every chance we had. I have been given and served more detentions with Snape than you ever have, Harry Potter." Quote, Professor Snape, Hermione. She whirled on him in a huff, wagging an angry finger in his shocked face. "Don't you even dare think of correcting me, mister. I forced Ron into helping me corner Professor McGonagall, our head of house, Harry. I almost made her cry several times. I knew she was hiding something, but someone or something always got in my way. I scoured every book in the library for spells, anything. I even went to every magical bookstore I could find that might have helped. And then I find we're simply safe in some other world. What in Merlin's name made you decide not to give me something to calm my frazzled nerves? Or anyone's for that matter?" Quote, "I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it, mate. You had us worried and fearful for your life. Hermione knew everyone was lying to us and she still went for their throats. Bloody brilliant and scary at the same time though. We wanted the truth, Harry. You could have written or something." Hermione opened her mouth to rave more when she saw the downcast eyes and trembling figure. Hurriedly, she slipped to his side. Wrapping both arms about her missing friend, she tried to soothe her anger for him. "We missed you. We worried about you, Harry. We almost thought Voldemort really did hurt you. I'm sorry for yelling, but you deserved every word. I'm sorry, but I had believed it was the right thing to do at the time. I had to go through with it." Ron sat on his friend's other side, completing the three-way hug. "We did miss you. Never do that again." Hermione grinned with an evil glint in her eyes. "He won't if he knows what's good for him." Suddenly sobering her attitude, "Explain to us what happened. I want to know everything." Harry smiled slightly. This was the curious Hermione he always knew. He could always count on her to be practical and dying to know more. "As I said, I was taken from my relatives and brought to a new world. I was healed, got the only chance to become more than a wizard, and took it. I trained hard to be who I am. It's a bit strange, mate, seeing how you're older than us. We're almost 18 and you're 25. Even if I'm still slightly taller than you." All three shared a long-lost warm laugh, each remembering how Ron bragged about Harry being his newest little brother, literally since the green-eyed male was shorter. "I missed this." Hermione smiled, sharing a look at her boyfriend. Before pushing her friend's tale further, "What about your uncle?" Harry frowned. Here was the only part of his memory that was still fuzzy. He couldn't quite remember much of the end of the fourth year and the time he woke up in the healer's care. Rarely did he make sense of the few pieces he did know. "I can remember being hurt badly. They said my beating was fatal, since Voldemort was in my head, encouraging my death. They had someone come break the connection so I could live. I know Uncle Vernon was saying something about an owl, ruined dinner, and offended guests. I'm guessing Professor Dumbledore sent a letter about my ordeal at the tournament to the Dursleys. I guess the owl must have fallen in the food or something, ruining an important client's meal. Guess he took the anger and such out on me for it." Tighter, they held their trembling friend. Hermione could see that Harry didn't really remember that part of the summer. She could see it in his eyes and how he struggled to explain. She murmured nonsense in his neck to calm him, while Ron took a different approach to help his friend forget that pain. "If you're here, Harry, where's Hedwig? I haven't seen her. I know you won't go anywhere without her being near." Quote, Harry lit up at this. It turns out Hedwig wasn't a real owl. She's really a spirit phoenix, Ileana in fact, in disguise. At their stunned faces, it seems he felt that I would have needed her and came here as an owl to try and befriend me until someone of her world, either a seer or she-demon, would find me. Ileana sometimes becomes Hedwig for me, See Allie, those times I truly missed being home. I just wished she would have done something instead of being locked away each summer, but she always did try her best to protect or help me. For now, Y was content to be held by his friends for a few moments longer before he had to find someone else. His friends were content to hold on to their lost friend for as long as they could. Although, Ron Street, ill didn't understand the attraction between his best mate and an evil git of a potions master. And Hermione still didn't understand why she didn't place all the few clues earlier that year together. Epilogue. Chapter 21. Epilogue. Politely, Osiris knocked on the warded door. He waited, and would wait all night, for Severus to answer. He had just spent 2 long and tiring hours with his friends, talking about everything and trying to encourage the loss of their old closeness to reappear. But for now he was hoping for something else, at least someone else, to reappear. Inside the privately warded room, a steadily drinking Severus Snape brooded before a flickering fire. His fuzzy thoughts flowed together as he remembered the earlier scene he had fled as well as the attraction he still felt for a certain war mage. Despite the enraged knowledge of knowing he was lied to, when something interrupted. He looked up at the hesitant knock. Slightly staggering, he walked to the door, yanking it open. "What? Hey, I guess. Can I come in?" Osiris fiddled with the small package in his hands. Onyx eyes blearily glared down at the hopeful emerald look. Sighing, he gave in. He stepped to one side, allowing the man inside. "What do you want? Classes won't start until next week since they're cancelled this week." "I know. Madame Pomfrey let me go early since it was no use making me stay." Isis had already left the wing earlier, but she did say to take it easy for the next few days. Severus dropped into his chair, waiting and thinking of continuing his thoughtful drinking. Was that all?